If you like the story, you can support the author on Patreon. Link is in the description.
Chapter 101, Team 0. Meredith and Ross Weiss were inside Nexus HQ managing the wards, searching for any and all enemies. It was highly likely that the full frontal attack was just a distraction, so they were being very thorough, checking for any anomalies in the area of the base. But even with them being on full alert, a cloaked figure was walking towards the center of Nexus. He was Artos, a very low-level Grim Reaper chosen to be part of a very secret and very elite unit under the death god Hades. Unit 0. A unit that is solely specialized in infiltration. Nothing like the Grim Reapers that Isaiah met when he was starting out. These Grim Reapers have zero fighting powers. Practically no mana at all, which means zero escape options as well. All of their training has been focused on being as undetectable as possible. The people chosen in this unit usually have almost no magic power. They just do infiltration exercises over and over again. For months, years, even decades. When a member of the Zero unit goes on a real mission, he is given the best replica of Hades' cap they have made. It completely eases their existence. Combined with their already extremely low strength and expert level SK*LL in infiltration, they make for very excellent assassins. Even suicide soldiers. Artos was given a mission. Go to the center of Nexus and wait. Choose a good position where the upper echelon would probably meet, and once you don't move, stand in the corner and wait. Once the generals of Nexus arrive, detonate a bomb containing Samael's poison along with Hades' special poison mix. That is very expensive to make and takes a few centuries for just a drop. After a while, he reached the castle. As he was walking through the hallways, but no matter how much he walked, the hallways seemed to stretch on forever. Did they make some space manipulation trap to extend the hallway? Artos stopped walking. This could be troublesome. In situations like this, there should be an exit point somewhere in this hallway. If it has some sort of passcode, I could be in trouble. While Artos was thinking, out of nowhere, he felt himself jerk forward, and then the pain started. Artos looked down to see a giant claw coming out of his stomach. No, not coming out, coming through. It pierced straight through him from the back. The attack knocked the cap off his head, revealing his existence to the world. Artos turns around to see a nail/claw and a finger coming out of the floor. A bit further away he saw the floor shift as a giant red eye appeared, looking at him with malice. How did you find me? Kurama chuckled as he started to slowly separate himself from the floor, walls, and ceiling. I am a sage. Few people understand what that really means. I can do a lot of things that are considered impossible, like becoming one with this entire castle. I knew someone would come, probably someone with invisibility or ghost powers. So I fused myself to the castle. But I must admit I couldn't sense you at all. But I felt you walk on me. At first, I thought it was my imagination. Your steps were the lightest and the most soundless I have sensed. But after you continued to walk, I realized that someone was really there. When you stopped, I saw my opportunity and took it. But you were outside fighting. Artos grunted out in pain as blood started to flood his lungs. Kurama grinned. Clone techniques are such a useful branch of magic. Now what to do with a little rat like you? At least I'm taking you down with me. Artos tried to detonate the bomb, but Kurama was faster. No, you are not. He quickly ripped a hole and spied straight into the dimensional gap and threw the Grim Reaper into it. The hole quickly closed afterward, but Kurama caught a glimpse of the explosion just as it was starting. It looked powerful. They really dodged a bullet there. In their relaxed state with no defense, that attack would have done a lot of damage and might have even K*LLED a few of the weaker members. Kurama, are you okay? The wards show a breach. Ross Weiss contacted the sage. I'm fine, that was me, I threw a suicide bomber in the gap. Notify the rest to be careful. There are Grim Reapers inside the castle, wearing replicas of Hades' cap. Kurama looked at the floor where the cap was melting into a puddle and scoffed. I will return this to you threefold. Just you wait, Hades. You and your friends haven't seen anything yet. Kurama fused back with the castle and continued to search for intruders. On the battlefield where Isaiah and Cain were fighting, Cain's body was riddled with wounds, burn marks, and frost marks. It was harder to find a part of him that wasn't bloody or injured. But all of them were slowly healing. It's amazing that he discovered my weakness so fast, Cain thought to himself as he punched another sword slash, parrying it away. Isaiah had noticed that physical attacks were doing nothing to Cain, so he switched things up. Each time he used lacerate, he added a power that would do mental damage to Cain. And the results showed. Cain got slower. More lethargic. His body might be immortal and erase the mental attacks soon after they begin. But the mental damage continued to stack until Cain got tired. My one weakness is my mind. Getting sliced, diced, and k*lled over and over again causes a strain on my mind. And he keeps adding mental attacks on top of it. It's hard to see him as someone who has lived for 2 decades. If I didn't know any better I would put him in the same age as me. A/N Cain is younger than the angels. Fallen and most gods. Cain stopped midair and turned to the castle. He then noticed that Heracles and Hachiman's aura had disappeared, causing the immortal to sigh. So we failed then, Cain said as he backed away. Isaiah on the other hand was a tiny bit pissed. I hate cheat characters. Hypocritical coming from me, but that's what he is. I have been dicing him for the last 15 minutes. Hitting him with lacerate when I can. This is not about martial arts anymore. No matter how *LLED his billion-year-old ass is. He shouldn't be able to do this. The fuck did God make when he toyed around with a fragment of infinity? My best guess Cain is using the mark to strengthen his toki, especially putting emphasis on the muscles. You don't sound surprised, Isaiah commented. Cain shook his head. I'm not. You know I kind of admire you. A reincarnated devil, a child. Reaching this level in a decade. I guarantee you. That has never happened in the history of the world. I should know, I have been around for a long time. Thanks for the compliment, but you have got me thinking. Is a man like you doing here? I understand your grudge against heaven. But Nexus has never done anything to you, Isaiah asked calmly. Cain just shrugged his shoulders. You are an enemy of my allies. I personally have nothing against you, but I need their help to gather the holy relics. Isaiah narrowed his eyes. What do you want those pieces of junk for? Cain's whole expression changed. His normally calm face was filled with rage to bust open the gates of heaven. The combined energy I would get by sacrificing the holy relics would be enough to completely destroy the gates of heaven. And when me and my allies go there, I will destroy the system God left and free myself from this cursed mark. Isaiah frowned. Troublesome. That system is the only thing keeping heaven in check. Along with all the sacred gears. Should the system fall, heaven won't be able to gather any faith. And would lose control of all the souls who go there. And that's without all the shit that would happen to the angels. Most importantly, if the system fails, sacred gears would no longer be reincarnated into a new host. They would stay in the core of the user after his death. This means others will be able to easily grab sacred gears and I will lose one big advantage I hold over all the other factions. Isaiah's sword changed again. Zenith. Cain jumped backward, avoiding a couple of swords that suddenly pierced from above him. Whoa. Nope, I ain't dealing with that sword again. Plus I'm the only one left and I'm not stupid enough to think I can win against you, let alone once the others arrive. So Cain crushed some sort of black crystal artifact and a black warp gate appeared behind him and swallowed him up. Isaiah just stared at where Cain disappeared before relaxing a bit. This is getting more and more troublesome. And these million-year-old faggots are popping up one after another. Maybe I should increase the difficulty of my training. I can still somewhat handle my current level. Yeah, X5 sounds pretty good. Asia and Valerie will handle all of my broken bones and ripped muscles. Speaking of which I need to go and check on them. Chapter 102, Kiba 102 Evil Dragons and Seth. Aliens side. The biblical alliance consisting of the Heaven, Grigori, and the Devils was being attacked. Their enemies were 4 evil dragons. Apophis the Primal Eclipse Dragon. Labdin the Insomniac Dragon. Grendel the Crime Force Dragon. Aida the Diabolism Thousand Dragon. Together with the army of Anubis and the Egyptian god Seth, Set, god of deserts, storms, disorder, violence, foreigners, thunderstorms, eclipses, and earthquakes. Assisting him by trapping the alliance in another dimension were Nyx, the primordial goddess of the night, and her brother Erebus, the primordial god of darkness. Let's get this party started, shall we? Seth created a tsunami of sand that headed toward the hotel. The army of humanoid jackals rushed straight ahead. They were monsters created for this purpose after all. Graphia summoned her magic and used ice magic on the sand tsunami, which started to be covered in blackish ice. But the force was too strong and the sand had divine energy which made it harder to freeze. Grayfield clicked her tongue. The sand has a massive amount of divinity in it. Since he can use it over and over again even if we destroy his creations, she flung her hands and sharp icebergs formed from the ground and impacted the tsunami, breaking it apart. Now that the force behind the tsunami was gone, Surtsk appears in front of the falling sand and annihilates it before moving to one of the dragons that was arriving. Seth and Gabriel. Seth realized an eyebrow, they are a good team. And he surprisingly managed to erase most of the sand. Seth raised his fist as divinity engulfed it and he blocked an attack from Gabriel. Well, they won't let me create more that quickly, but I can still slowly do it. And time is on our side and backup will arrive shortly. What is the meaning of this? Why is the Egyptian pantheon working with evil dragons? Gabriel pointed her holy light spear at him. Seth chuckled. Why? It's quite obvious, isn't it? You formed an alliance and are recruiting new members. Now your enemies started to get nervous, so they made an alliance themselves. The Egyptian pantheon was invited and we accepted. But why? What could you possibly gain by attacking us? Gabriel asked. She was aware of the current situation of the Egyptian pantheon. They had lost a lot of believers and in turn a lot of faith. The less faith they have, the weaker the boost they get. It's more of what you have to lose than what we will gain. Seth smiled maliciously. So they want us, the biblical faction, to fall. That way they have a better chance of spreading their pantheon to gain more faith. I will not allow that to happen, Gabriel said resolutely. And you think you can defeat me all alone? Seth sneered. He was one of the more powerful gods in his pantheon. He wasn't going to fight against Michael since he was basically a chief god now, but if it was Uriel or Raphael he might be more on guard. Against Gabriel? The big tits airhead? No need to worry. Seth flung his hand and a chaotic energy sphere flew straight at Gabriel. Above her, a storm formed and below her sand started to rise. He was sure that Gabriel was either going to nullify his attack and back away from the trap he had set. But surprisingly the attack hit her, and then his vision blurred and he was sent flying. Then the pain on his cheek arrived, making him realize he had been hit. How? Seth looked at the spot where he stood in the air and Gabriel was there with her wings unfurled, and a holy aura gathered in her fist. He looked back to where his trap was and an illusion of Gabriel dissipated. I am Gabriel the messenger. The voice of God and the fastest angel in heaven. Prepare yourself, Seth of Egypt. Gabriel created holy spears and her figure blurred. Seth smirked as he stomped down, causing earthquakes and storms to appear. Sand started to rise from the cracks. He was changing the environment to suit his needs. It cost a bit from his reserves to do this, but he has the terrain advantage that's more like it now. Let's see what you have got, little angel. Seth coated his arms in divine energy and clashed with Gabriel, sending shockwaves through their part of the battlefield. Aphosis vs Surtsks. Come, let me see what the strongest Satan can do, Aphosis called out. He is the third strongest evil dragon after Crom Crouch and Aida. But he requested to handle Surtsks at the start to reveal some of his cards. Because unlike the rest of the evil dragons who were bloodthirsty barbarians, Aphosis has full control over his impulses and looks down on the others that don't. He was the dragon that was called the nemesis of Ra. Aphosis of the darkness. Aphosis roared out a fire attack. At the same time, he manipulated the shadows beneath him that formed from the brightness. Surtsks looked at the beam of dark fire coming at him. He raised his hand and a beam of pod hit it and the attacks cancelled each other out. I don't know why he is fighting me alone, and currently, I don't care. We need to get to Landon so that we can find the location of the primordial siblings. The longer we stay here, the more danger Rias will be in. Surtsks glances at where Rias was fighting. She was doing well, but he couldn't help but worry. I need to end this quickly. The Mul Lucifer gets serious as he flies towards Aphosis. Aida vs Azazel. Why me? Azazel sighed as he faced the three-headed giant dragon. Couldn't Surtsks fight this one? Aida is the strongest enemy here. Now I will finally get my revenge, said the dragon. Oh come on. It happened thousands of years ago. A bit too long to hold a grudge, don't you think? Azazel said in a casual tone, while subtly manipulating his magic, ready to shoot out spells. You robbed my home. Aida roared out in anger. I entered a small cave and grabbed some ores and plants. I already told you this. Azazel sighed out, like he was talking to a child. It was in my territory. It was 50 kilometers away from where you were. And I just took some samples. All of it is my territory. The three heads took a deep breath. Great! Azazel raised his hand and a giant light spear formed. It was 3 times the size of the one Kokabeel made and a lot more powerful. Azazel quickly threw it at the dragon, who quickly unleashed his breath attack. Grendel vs Michael. He. I always wondered what a roasted archangel would taste like. The insane 15-meter humanoid dragon laughed like a maniac as he stared down at Michael. You are quite deranged, aren't you? I don't like K*ling, but putting you down would be an act of mercy, Michael said with a small smile. You dare? You are just a weak little bird. If it was your father he might be a threat to me, you on the other hand are no threat, Grendel growled out, his eyes shining with madness. Michael sighed. You know, it's quite common for people to underestimate me. But they forget. I sit on the throne of heaven now. Do you think someone weak would be allowed to sit on it? That in a part of the faith from our believers is going straight to me. Michael unfurled his golden wings and his aura exploded outward. It was bright golden and was leaking out holy energy in large quantities. Contrary to all expectations, Grendel just whistled. He was not intimidated in the least. Now how do you have that much power, little bird? I'm sure dear old daddy wouldn't have allowed an angel to get that powerful. Lest you threaten him like Lucifer did. Michael had an impassive look on his face. Indeed he didn't. But he is dead now. As for how I can handle all of this faith. Me and Hellel were twins. And when he fell and turned into Lucifer he was more powerful than me, this is true. But people forget. I am the firstborn. The first son of God. The general of heaven. He flew at Grendel and hit him in the side of the face with holy energy, sending the dragon tumbling back. Rahahaha. That's what I am talking about. Due to being one of the very few bipedal dragons, Grendel is a master at fighting hand to hand. And prefers to duke it out with his enemies and hates tricks and traps. Because of this, most of his power is diverted into his strength, speed, and durability. He has no magic except his draconic fire. He takes pleasure in dealing and taking damage. I will rip you apart. And like the psychotic K*ler dragon he rushed at Michael, without any plan or actual thought. Just pure instinct and a desire to K*ll his opponent. Pinmu and Grafia were surprisingly without any opponents. They looked at each other and realized that this wasn't right. The enemies were too prepared to miss something like this. But both were strong fighters in their own right. They looked back in their armies and Rias's peerage was doing okay against the army of jackals. So both of them went to help out the rest and try to get quickly to Landon. As he was boosting the strength of the barrier, helping the primordial siblings hide even better. They went to join Azazel. As Ai Dao was a bit too much for the old crow. It is said that Ai Dao had knowledge and control over 1000 magic. Elemental magic, teleportation, space-time, and defensive magic, just to name a few. And the fact that he was a dragon. Meaning bigger magical reserves and he could take a lot more damage. Azazel, we have come to give you back up. Pinmu arrived near her leader and Grafia is behind her. Thanks, it kind of irks me that I can't handle him, but then again, he isn't one of the strongest evil dragons for nothing. Grafia unleashed her aura. Black eyes started to from beneath her. Don't overdramatize Azazel. Any one of us can't handle him alone. Surtsk is the only transcended class we currently have with us. Pinmu unleashed a barrage of light spears, to test out the dragon's defense. She sneaked in some really powerful spears in the bridge. Ai Dao roared out flames from all three heads and the light spears detonated mid-air. As he was sending out flames, he noticed that Grafia was spreading ice around them, creating a field of ice on which would lower the energy cost of her spells. The dragon snorted and used earth elemental magic to shatter the ground around them, and the ice on it as well. But Grafia froze that as well. Fine, if that's how they want to play, I can do that as well. Purgatory flames. Ai Dao formed magic circles on his hands and mouth. As soon as he cast the spell, black flames with a bit of purple in them engulfed his opponents, who quickly backed away. But the dragon didn't stop there. He started to attack the surroundings as well, throwing his flames in their armies. Wanting to create as much chaos as possible. Rias peerage POV. In another part of the battlefield, and arguably the safest zone. Rias and her peerage were fighting the army of Anubis. The 3-meter-tall humanoid jackals with weapons from the ancient Egypt era. Rias was blasting pod shots left and right. She would hit an arm or leg, but the monsters kept going, even with holes in their chest. Issei and Akeno were fighting together. Akeno's lightning, which was normally used to paralyze stronger opponents, was useless here. They didn't even feel the current going through their bodies. Haido hit a monster in the head, blasting it off. Don't worry. I will protect Buko and Akeno. Just as he said that, a soldier struck Akeno in the chest. How dare you harm Akeno, glorious Oppai! Dragon shot. In his anger, Haido unleashed a red beam that blew apart the top half of the jackal. Akeno turned to him. Era, how forward Ise-kun. But this might not be the time for this. Akeno dodged the next attack and blasted the soldier away. The other new members were taking this seriously and systematically eliminating enemies near them. Thanks to Haido's recklessness, they realized that these monsters could only be K*LLED by decapitation or crushing the head. Or erase their whole upper body, but that's just wasting energy. Normally going for the head was the obvious move, but since they were 3 meters tall that was kind of hard to do, so it took them a while to realize the way to K*LL them. They were protected by the few low ultimate class devils and fallen among the soldiers who were keeping an eye on stronger opponents. Boost. Buku, I will be ready soon for transfer, Haido said as he punched another jackal in his balance breaker. Good job, Issei. Give it to me when it's done. Rias smiled at him, feeling much better now that they have taken down quite a few jackals. This should boost her reputation a bit as she was gaining more merits. I am afraid that won't be possible. A cold, cruel voice sounded from behind Rias, whose body shivered as she turned around with a panicked look on her face. Behind her was a phantom with a jet black body with a muscular build and horns on his head. He glowing fire-like eyes and a cruel smile on his face. God of Darkness. Ungramania from the Persian pantheon. He had carefully transgressed the battlefield as he hid. W. Hello, Ruin Princess. Ungra quickly grabbed Rias by her throat and lifted her up as he sealed her magic. Haido looked in horror as Rias was captured. Buko. He called out as he dashed forward. His roar echoed through the battlefield, gaining the attention of the leaders. Ungra smiled as Surtska's face paled. Unleash the Titans. Chapter 103, Kidnapping. Unleash the Titans. Ungramania yelled out and the black barrier started to distort. Beep, beep, beep. Alarms started to ring in Surtska's head. Same as Graphia's. They both looked in the same direction. They immediately realized what had happened. The spells that they left on Rias activated. Spells that would alert them if she was in danger. Rias. Surtsk yelled out as he headed straight to Ungramania with fury in his eyes. Haido was already there. In his balance breaker he quickly got to Rias, but he was out of his league. Ungra simply pointed his finger at him. And shadows came from the earth and slammed into Haido, sending him flying and breaking apart his scale mail. Where do you think you are going? Apophis appeared in front of Surtsk. He was injured from fighting Surtsk, but a dragon's pride won't let him fall. Dark Field Barrier. Primordial Water. Apophis immediately used his 2 signature attacks. He created a strong black barrier where he could create a dark world of his own inside. And right off the bat, he filled it with the black water. It is extremely deadly and is capable of dissolving anything that it comes in contact with, powerful enough to wound God-class beings. Its corrosive powers are even capable of nullifying Phoenix tears. Surtsk, seeing that he was trapped in a mini-dimension, got even more pissed off. He was even further away from Rias. So he snapped. He directly enters a quasi-true form. Even in his angered state, he knew he could not go into his true form. In it he destroys anything and everything that's close to him, regardless of whether it was a friend or foe. Power of destruction surged from Surtsk as any black water that got near him was immediately erased. He sent out a huge ball of destruction that hit Aphos' head on. Impossible. How can he be this strong? He isn't even at full strength. Aphos knew that Surtsk didn't enter his full form like he was counting he would. They had hoped that he would eliminate a few of his own allies. Aphos tanked the shot and used his power to directly fight against the strong orb of Pod. Due to his focus being taken away and he was being pushed against the edges, his domain broke apart. And Surtsk rushed past him. Seeing this, Aphos used his power to fling the orb to the side. His hands and chest were filled with charred scales and flesh. He stalled Surtsk for quite some time. So this is the power of one of the beings on the lower ranks of the top 10. Surtsk is definitely a monster. Luckily for us, a monster with a glaring weakness. And we have a monster of our own. Aphos shrunk down to his human form and slipped away. Seeing Surtsk unleash his power, the others immediately understood what had happened. The enemy has Rias. Fuck. This will not end well. Azazel cursed out. He turned back to AI to see him setting up teleportation circles in his hands. They are retreating. Azazel yelled out, and everybody immediately understood what had happened. This wasn't a normal attack. They targeted Rias from the start. And now that they have her, they are retreating. And if they escape, Rias would definitely be used as a hostage against them. Graphia unfurled her wings and flew straight at AI. But the dragon didn't put any teleportation circles beneath him. He just pointed his hands at Surtsks and Gabriel. "No! Grafia yelled out, as she attacked the dragon with black ice. In front of Surtsks, a teleportation circle appears. Surtsks knew that he couldn't allow himself to be blocked, so he swung his arm and sent a lot of pod to destroy the circle, but it just passed through. The magic circle was an illusion. "Ha ha ha ha, I can teleport without circles, fools!" AI yelled out. As he was unbalanced, a young tall man wearing a black coat appeared. He had long hair with a mixture of black and gold colors and heterochromatic eyes. His right was gold and his left was black, he also had pointed ears. "Crom Kruok has arrived. Hello Lucifer," he swung with his right fist filled with gold and black energies and sent Surtsks flying. Currently, Crom Kruok is as strong as Drake and Albion were in their prime. Since he has been actively training and fighting others to get stronger even before they were K*LLED. "You won't be going anywhere unless you defeat me," Crom said in a serious tone. Surtsks was furious. He umped his power. The air around him was literally getting destroyed into atoms. But each time he attacked he blocked. He couldn't advance at all. Crom wasn't budging an inch. To even match Crom Kruok, Surtsks needed to enter his true form. Which he couldn't do. There were too many allies near him. Worst case he might harm Rias as well. At the same time Seth vs Gabriel. Gabriel rushes to stop him from teleporting, but when she gets in the teleportation circle, sand burst from the ground and grabbed both of her legs. All of the power was focused on containing her. Gabriel was confused. If they took her with them, she could signal back where their base was. But Seth grinned and the magic circle disappeared. It was an illusion all along. "Goodbye Archangel Gabriel." A portal appeared right behind Gabriel. Such a thing was so unexpected that most of them froze for a moment to process what was going on. They were all keeping tabs on each other. Such a portal would take a lot of power to gather. Power that they would have felt if the enemy was gathering it. But since none of the enemies in front of them did so, it caught them off guard. And the next moment they realized that the speeding arrow was already halfway there to strike Gabriel. "Sister!" Michael yelled out. He completely abandoned his opponent and rushed toward her. Gabriel by sheer instinct managed to put a few barriers behind her, feeling danger from that direction. But the arrow pierced the barrier and lodged itself into her back. "Ah!" Gabriel's scream set off the battle again. Michael's golden wings spread as light erupted from him. Anything touched by that light would just burn away. He rushed toward his sister, but froze in front of her from shock. His face was paling by the second. Gabriel, one of the 4 archangels, the most beautiful woman in heaven, was falling. She had a flushed face and her eyes were glazed. Her wings were turning black. One by one. Like a virus. Michael quickly realized the cause: the arrow. He quickly yanked the arrow out of her back, not caring about how painful it was. Gabriel screamed out in pain. Michael quickly started to heal her. "Fight it, sister. Fight the process." Tears were gathering in his eyes. One by one her glorious white feathers were turning black. The enchanted items that they carried to keep the negative emotions at bay and keep the positive ones working were failing. Gabriel gritted her teeth. She tried to push her holy energy to fight the process, but she came to a shocking revelation. It's gone. She couldn't access her holy energy. She tried to feel her connection to heaven, but it was slowly fading away. This knowledge made her lose her fighting spirit. In barely 3 seconds, all of her feathers turned black. She felt the connection between her and heaven sever. "No!" Michael said in a horrified tone. Gabriel turned around. Tears were falling down her cheeks. "Brother, sniff, I fell. I'm locked, sniff, out of heaven." Yaa, she started to cry. And so did Michael. He quickly pulled his sister in his arms. His words died in his throat. He didn't know what to say. What was there to say? "No. No. No." Michael screamed out. His aura burst out of him. The lights in his wings started to dim, returning to their white color, and at the tip a little bit of grey appeared, slowly turning black. Gabriel realized what was happening. Michael was falling from rage. "Brother, no!" Asterisk bam. Asterisk. A hard blow struck Michael on the back of his head, rendering him unconscious. Michael slumped forward, revealing Azazel behind him. He released a long breath that was too close for comfort. "Gabriel." Azazel looked at the most beautiful woman in heaven with sad eyes. The 4 archangels were reduced down to 3. Almost 2 if he hadn't interfered. I am sorry, Gabriel. His words made her sob again. No. It's my fault. I wasn't paying attention and I was weak. No, you were strong, says Seth from the other side. She and Azazel glared at the god. We could have shot that arrow at Michael. But we chose you. The reason is simple, you are a lot more popular than him. Oh, and that arrow, you can blame it on Nexus. That arrow could only be fired under certain conditions. If Nexus had allowed my ally to live, the arrow wouldn't be fired. Goodbye, Azazel, Gabriel. May we meet again on the battlefield. Seth smiled as he turned into sand and disappeared. Chapter 104, Planning and Clash. Asterisk boom. Boom. Boom asterisk. Surtsks was desperately slamming against Crom, pushing him back. He was using more and more power. His allies had moved away, afraid of getting caught up in his attacks. The dragon just had a grin on his face. His job was to stall. But as a dragon, how can he not enjoy such a battle? Fighting against the strongest devil. He was getting more aggressive as the enemies disappeared one by one. Grafia and Pinmo tried their best, but Aida just tanked their attacks as he teleported his allies away. And then Rias disappeared. Nuhu! Surtsks roared out. Hey, Crom just popped his shoulders and neck. Well, my job is done. Where did you take her? Surtsks clashed with Crom again, who just smirked. No idea. And I don't really care. My job was just to keep you busy. Crom shrugged his shoulders. Azazel and the others appeared and surrounded the dragon. What is your goal, Crom Kruuk? Azazel was stalling. The troops are almost evacuated. Damn this stupid town. It's like it's cursed or something. Crom Kruuk, the crescent circle dragon, let out a mad grin. To fight. To fight till I can't fight no more. To be the strongest or die trying. What about the others? Azazel signals the others to prepare to act. I don't know, some nonsense about the Alliance and Nexus getting too strong. So they joined up to fight you guys. I don't really care about that, but this way I get to fight strong people. But I guess now that everybody else left, I will go and get something to eat. You think you can escape us? Grafia asked coldly. She was new to the position of Satan. The other players in the Devil faction were watching her actions closely, looking for any openings they can exploit. Now that Rias was kidnapped right in front of her and Surtsks, it was a political nightmare. And that's just politics. Not to mention family matters. Surtsks would definitely go and do something stupid. The Gremaries as well. Their heir was kidnapped. And this is bad PR for them, public relations. Crom smirked. You think you can stop me? You people are seriously underestimating us. He used his insane strength to rip a tear to the dimensional gap. The Alliance quickly attacked before Crom even made a move. And the attacks would hit him before he left. Crom took a deep breath. Black gold scales appeared around his neck and cheeks. Some on his arms as well. Roar! A black gold torrent of energy shot out and intercepted the attack. Surtsks burst through the explosion, not caring for any damage he might have received. Get back here! Crom smiled and entered the gap. Surtsks quickly followed. Crom timed it so that the tear would repair itself after Lucifer entered, stopping the others from coming. Seeing as they were in the gap, Surtsks directly entered his true form. Power of destruction surrounded him. He was wearing it like a second skin. He looked like a red and black energy in a human shape. You couldn't even see his face. Crom also turned into his original form. That of a majestic jet black dragon with a black and golden aura surrounding him. Since he has black wings with the addition of arms, Crom Kruuk is a Western dragon. Where are the others? Surtska's voice echoed in the void. Defeat me and I might just tell you. Crom's aura exploded. I'll have some fun with him before leaving. The others said they needed him to do something. Both transcended beings flew at each other, starting a clash that would shake the dimensional gap. Underworld. Realm of the dead. Well, that went well. Anubis smirked. They had attacked many targets at once. The aliens meeting. Nexus HQ. Many of the churches around the world. Key locations in the underworld that would cause serious damage to the devils and fallen. All in all, they had a successful attack. Even if they failed with Nexus. Crack. Amaterasu crushed her glass. Hachiman is dead. That didn't go well. So is Heracles, but you don't see me being stressed about him, Poseidon said calmly as he took a sip from his drink. But at least they died like men and didn't run away like a bitch. He turned to Cain, who only raised an eyebrow. Says the fish who didn't even go out to fight. Cain said mockingly, what's wrong, scared that you really will get gutted? What did you say, you punk? Poseidon slammed his hand on the table and unleashed his power. Blue aura surrounded him, it was dense like a liquid, it clung to him and swirled like a real water. Cain also stood up, white golden colored aura exploded from him. Who are you calling punk, fish breath? And if you think you can beat me, then you are delusional. Enough! Hades yelled out and his entire realm shook. We don't have time to bicker amongst ourselves. We have suffered losses, but we have also gained a valuable hostage. Rias, the little sister of Satan Lucifer. Amaterasu sneered, it seems like my faction suffered the biggest loss. Cain, why didn't you use Samael's poison on Isaiah? The immortal human just sighed, you people are fools. Isaiah didn't become that strong without the SK*LLS to back it up. Honestly, that kid is terrifying. Even while fighting me he was still hiding some of his strength, and he still dominated the fight. I showed multiple openings but he never took them. He somehow knew about the poison beforehand. And instead, he used his time wisely to study me and learn my moves. If we fight again I'm definitely getting K*LLED. Hell, while I was keeping him busy he took his time to study me and decimate our armies which were below him. He tried to be subtle, but an attack that was aimed at me coincidentally hit our army right where it would hurt the most and destabilized our troops' formation. Head as expected of a dragon. Grendel grinned, I cannot wait to battle him. A straight-up deathmatch between dragons. Ha 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 ha. Hades pulls up a video feed of Rias lying on a bed in a cell with her magic sealed. You know. Now that I get a good look at her without that frown on her face. Her red hair is quite exotic. I think I'm going to bed her, should be a good way to K*LL sometime. Poseidon had a lecherous expression. Scum Amaterasu, isn't am I? And Nyx commented. How unrefined. Loki sneered at the Greek god. Loki had been one of the people that went to the underworld to cause some chaos there. Bang! Hades slammed his skeletal hand on the table. Not a hair on her body will be harmed. What if Xerxes chooses to attack us instead? She must be completely unharmed and untouched. Only after Isaiah is taken care of. You can do as you wish with her. Indra nodded, agreed. That brat is the real danger. In only a decade he has reached the level required to be on equal footing with the rest of us. What will happen if we give him another decade? A century? Wouldn't he gain enough strength to slaughter us? Inwardly Indra was worried about the visions he was getting. He was getting more and more visions of Isaiah defeating them. So we make Xerxes take care of Isaiah for us. If he can't, it will at least weaken both of them. Either way, Xerxes' actions will affect the devil race as a whole. Perhaps incite another civil war. Apophyse the primal eclipse dragon mused, now this is a plan I can agree to. Why waste time fighting like a maniac when we can get our enemies to do it? What is our next move? Cain asks Hades. We wait and see how they react. They have suffered losses as well. For now, we gather our forces and strike again when they least expect it. The biblical faction has more locations to hit. We will use this to lower their morale. Xerxes and Crom are still battling in the dimensional gap. We need to wait until Xerxes returns and goes to Nexus. We will base our next actions depending on the way their talk goes. Any objections? Hades looked at the people around the table. Seeing that nobody said anything, then this meeting is over. Till next time. Kyoto the next day. Huh? Why do I care? So what if Rias got kidnapped? It's none of my concern, Isaiah said over the phone. Then a long sigh came from the other side. Come now, you spent 10 years with her and her peerage. There has to be a tiny part of you that is worried about her. Nope. None. Doesn't exist. Azazel, might I remind you that I was forced into her peerage? And I didn't like her at all. Just because she has a great pair of tits doesn't mean I should care. Whether she lives or dies, it has nothing to do with me. On the other side of the phone call, Azazel felt tired. This call was definitely a mistake. I even went through the trouble of talking through these traceless cell phones. Okay then. I will get to the point. Xerxes wants a meeting with you. He returned a few hours ago after clashing with Crom Kruik, known as the Crescent Circle Dragon. Their fight went nowhere. Both of them were pretty evenly matched, but Crom had more stamina and got bored, so he left. Xerxes couldn't follow him. Dragons have a big advantage in traveling the dimensional gap. Isaiah narrowed his eyes. Why does he want a meeting? His voice was filled with doubt. Surtsk wants to discuss on how we are going to proceed forward. Both of our factions were attacked by the same group. I think this alone warrants a meeting. Isaiah looked at his group who signaled him about their opinions. Nexus will be there. Beeb. Azazel looked at the phone. Nexus. Hey, well, it was obvious from the start that he wouldn't come alone. Azazel then pulled up his ordinary phone and messaged Dino. Call me through the phone I sent Isaiah. A few minutes later his phone rang. Azazel picked up the phone. Yo, shitty dad, Dino called out, and inwardly Azazel let out a relieved sigh. He sounds alright. Hello, troublesome son. I heard you got your arm chopped off. Trying to imitate your dear old dad. You are going to make me cry. No, Azazel said jokingly, this was their whole relationship. Constantly taking shots at each other. And that was all right. It worked for them. Not on your life. I was fighting a god. Hachiman, the archery god of Japan or something. But during the fight, my reasoning dulled and I started taking unnecessary risks. The enemy used something that made me more reckless. I mean, I was already super cranky and mad. I think they amplified that. I don't know, but as a result of that I charged in K*LLED the god but lost my arm in the process. Azazel quickly started breaking down the news that he just received. The enemy has someone that can manipulate emotions. Oh shit, Azazel just groaned. I need to tell the aliens about this. First that stupid arrow, and now someone can mess with emotions. We can't afford to lose any more angels. If heaven falls, things would get just that much more troublesome. Not to mention hotheads from all three factions and one Issei Hayado who wants to charge in whatever enemy location and beat the information out of them. What? Dino asked. He definitely noticed the tone of his voice. It's nothing, faction trouble. I'm sure you have your fair share of work. Azazel was quickly typing on his second phone, which had a secure line. Sierra Fall. Ajilka, keep an eye on Surtsk's. Got some new info. The enemy has someone who can manipulate the emotions of ultimate class fighters. Possibly manipulate even stronger individuals. Dino lost an arm because of it. Then he pulled out a third one. This one was linked to all his trustworthy codders. Instant group messaging. Mostly to tell them all that he is busy with an experiment when an idea pops into his head. He pulls out this phone and presses a few buttons and everybody knows not to disturb him. With that done, Azazel continued to talk to his son. Sred Isaacs. Are you out of your goddamn mind? Seraphal yelled at the great Satan Lucifer. I want to go alone. Surtsk was firm, not flinching at the agitated Seraphal. I don't care what you want. You are not meeting Isaiah and Nexus alone. You are too emotional right now. Seraphal put her hands on her hips and glared at the man. Do you think I'm going to do something stupid? Surtsk raised an eyebrow at her. Yes, Cyril yelled at him like it was definitely going to happen. Ding! Seraphal picked up her phone and saw the message from Azazel. Seraphal. Ajilka. Keep an eye on Surtsk's. Got some new info. The enemy has someone who can manipulate the emotions of ultimate class fighters. Possibly manipulate even stronger individuals. Dino lost an arm because of it. Fuck K, really? Now? She turned to Surtsk, who was a nervous reek. Damn it. He is more of a liability now than I thought. Seraphal. Surtsk looked at her and smiled. Everything will be fine. Seraphal's sweat dropped. Why don't I believe that? Damn it. I regret ever coming back. But my Sotan called me. But all of this bullshit again. Next time I'll just kinda Sotan with me, that way she won't be in any danger. Yeah, that's a good plan. 2 days later, Isaiah and a few members of Nexus stood in a remote part of the Underworld. Among those members were Riser, Feldera, Konako, Zenovia, and Asia. And just on time, the other party arrived. Surtsk's, Grafia, Seraphal, and Rias's peerage. Issei, Akeno, and the 3 new members. Seraphal. Didn't you leave on a vacation? Isaiah looked at the former Satan in surprise. This caused her to sigh. Let's just say that the situation demanded my involvement. Otherwise, I would be still enjoying my life somewhere on a beach. And I was just getting used to cocktails and massages. I even started to get a good tan. Pity. Well, that's a you problem. My suggestion is just grab sauna and head to Bali or something. Isaiah turned to Surtsk. Now what do you want? If this is about Rias, then we can stop this thing right here. I don't care that she has been kidnapped. Issei stepped up and pointed his finger at him. You bastard. How can you say that? Issei was in a very bad mood. His precious bucko was kidnapped right under his nose. And then when he wanted to charge in and get her back, the moose stopped him, saying he wouldn't even know where to go. Charging in blindly will result in the enemy capturing him as well. And they couldn't afford to lose a Longinus right now. Isaiah raised an eyebrow quite easily. After all, I don't have anything to with that woman anymore. Rias saved your life, Sertsk yelled out. Isaiah scored. No, you saved my life, because you wanted me to be a good little slave to your sister. I paid back that debt when I freed her from her horrid engagement. Riser, who was behind Isaiah, smirked ironically. I got more out of breaking that engagement than her, so thanks for that. Brother, don't be so crude. Ravel, who was next to Riser, glared at him. Keep your mouth shut and follow the plan. Riser glanced at his sister before looking forward. I know. Sertsk turns to Konako, who only raised her hand, stopping him before he even starts. You tricked me and my sister. Separated us, because I would make a nice little gift for Rias. A rare Nico Shao. You knew the truth the whole time, yet you never said anything. Don't expect any mercy from me when you haven't given me any. I do feel bad that Rias has to suffer because of your stupid mistakes. But that part of my life is over. I stand now with Isaiah and Nexus, Chiron said resolutely. Konako-chan Issei sounded crushed. Sirafal withheld a grim smile. You really fucked up, Sertsk. She knew that just gifting Rias a peerage would come back to bite him in the ass. Especially people with rare races and high potential. Frankly, it's a miracle that Akino is still staying here. Seeing that Konako, or rather Chiron, was a lost cause, he turned back to Isaiah. Both our factions were attacked by the same enemy. I suggest we join forces to defeat them. Isaiah chuckled, but it wasn't only him, the people behind him as well. Nobody was buying Sertsk's words. He didn't care about his faction. He only wanted to save Rias. Grafia frowned at the disrespect shown to her king, but held her tongue. She learned her lesson about getting into a verbal argument with Isaiah. That will not end well. And what would you have us do? For me to surrender myself to them? Set a trap? Join forces in a valiant effort to save Rias? No, thank you. My faction will handle its own problems. And it seems we were the only ones who actually won in these attacks. You people are on your own. Sertska's eyes were covered. I see, then you leave me no choice. He used his power of destruction to envelop himself. And dashed at Isaiah, who casually stood there as he created an ordinary sword. Sertsk. Don't. Sirafal yelled out as she rushed forward. Rias's peerage did the same. Where do you think you are going? Riser appeared in front of them, his flaming wings expanding, blocking their way with intense heat and flames. Boy, move. I have to stop Sertsk. Sirafal yelled out, causing Riser to sneer. This was supposed to be a peace talk. Yet your leader broke by attacking first. How do we know you are not acting right now? Move, yakitori bastard. Issei yelled out, yakitori/skewered chicken on grill. Balance breaker, scale mail. Issei directly donned his red draconic armor. Riser closed his eyes, put his hand on his chest, and focused. Fuga. Open. Badum. A heartbeat echoed in the surroundings. Burn. Pshhhhhhhhh. All the fire around Riser exploded, engulfing the area. Sirafal, with her superior strength, was the first one to notice the quality of his flames changed. Just as she thought that the flames themselves started to change. Form an orange-red, to yellow, and finally to blue-violet. Riser's wings and flames were now blue. His eyes flashed blue before returning to normal. Nobody will interrupt Isaiah. Sirafal was stumped. How the hell am I supposed to beat him without K***ing him? This is practically a quasi-awakening. When did Riser reach this level? The Phoenix family will cause a lot of trouble if I accidentally K***LL Riser. Why me? You sure have a lot of loyalty towards Isaiah. Riser scoffed at her and crossed his arms. Let's forget the things he has done and taught me. Do I need a reason to be loyal to my brother? She smiled at that. I guess not. Well then, let's see how strong you have gotten, Phoenix brat. It was over. She couldn't reach Sertsk's. At least now she can gather whatever information she could. As far as she knew, no Phoenix had reached this level before. If the clan could learn this, it would be a boost to the devils. Asterisk boom. Boom. Boom asterisk. Sertsk's and Isaiah were clashing. Each clash left a mark on the ground. A crater. A slash mark. Or that part was just erased from existence. Surtsk's was having trouble comprehending the situation. I knew he was strong. I knew that he had reached transcended class. But clashing against him like this really hits home how much stronger he has gotten. If he had just stayed in the devil faction, things would have been a lot better. Isaiah flicked his hand. Surtsk dodged long deep slash marks that appeared on the ground where he stood. And then there is his domain. Surtsk looked at the blonde man's sword. He defines the sword in every way: cutting, slashing, piercing, blocking, parrying. Sometimes my attacks will just steer to the left and right without hitting him. What a simple yet powerful domain. I need to use more power. I'm done testing him out. Surtsk stopped and his aura exploded. He was going into his true form, where he becomes destruction in human form. This is the second time I am using this in one day. I need to end this quickly. My reserves are half full. Damn that dragon. Isaiah frowned and was about to release his domain when he suddenly smiled and vanished his sword. Surtsk was surprised at the action, but he was not ready for what followed. Isaiah raises his hand and a hologram appears of another Isaiah holding a small red-haired child. Father. Surtsk freezes Milikas. Chapter 105, Consequences. Milikas. Surtsk and Grafia yelled out. Sirafal and the Rias' peerage weren't doing any better. This was something nobody expected. Kiba just smiled as he held the hologram. It couldn't have gone any better. All according to plan, which I honestly didn't expect to go this well. A few days ago. Nexus War Room. After the fight with the Invaders, Nexus quickly started to rebuild the damaged infrastructure and spread out its armies to fortify its defenses. Right now the leaders were in the war room disguising plans. The true leaders of Nexus were the strongest three: Isaiah, Kurama, and Tiamat. After them were Dino, Ingvild, Ross Weiss, Gloxinia, and Yasaka. Then Asia, Valerie, Meredith, Feldor, Gasper, Kurika, and Riser. Misaki, Zenobia, Chiron were the weakest, including the newly joined Ravel, who was gaining up on Chiron in terms of strength. They had some casualties in their army. Some yokai, fallen and devils died. Dino lost an arm as well, which is the biggest hit in their strength. But overall they defeated the enemy leaders and wiped out a large portion of the army. They even captured some to extract intelligence from them. From those unfortunate souls, they learned some things. An example of that would be that there were many simultaneous attacks, looking to cause as much damage and chaos as possible. They also learned that Rias was kidnapped. And lo and behold, the Alliance contacted them and set up a meeting with Search's Lucifer. So what's the real plan? Feldora said suspiciously at Isaiah. The man never does anything without gaining something. Now he was going to a peace meeting with Lucifer, who would definitely go back on his word to save Rias. Because that's how big of a siscon he is. What makes you think that he has a plan? Gloxinia asks. He was still new, but this was a simple peace meeting. Oh right, nay. He doesn't know about Surtska's obsession with his sister Rias. Listen Gloxi-chan, that man would do anything in the world for his sister. That's why she is so spoiled, Kurika informed the fairy king, who had a look of realization. Oh. Kurama also scoffed. Isaiah doesn't do anything without getting something in return. So what are you going to do? Blackmail them? The blonde swordsman just smiled. Bingo, but not in the way you think. This is a two-part plan. And the most important person to pull this off is you. Riser. Riser was shocked. He slowly pointed his finger at himself. Me. Yep. You, Ravel, me will be the only ones to really show up at that peace meeting. Me too, Isaiah-sama. Ravel was surprised as well. Isaiah nodded at the girl. And the others? Valerie raised her eyebrow, causing Isaiah to grin. We declared war, didn't we? It would be embarrassing if we didn't counterattack. Everybody except Gasper will split up. Ingvild, Misaki, Kurika, and Chiron will stay in the underworld. They might attack after the meeting, so stay sharp. And if they do attack, K*LL them all and expand our territory over there. The rest will attack the Shinto and 5 clans. They attacked us, it's common courtesy to return the favor. K*LL and capture as many of you can. Try to keep the wielders of the 5 sacred beasts alive. And me? Gasper asks. He stood tall and muscular, but more on the lean side. He was getting closer and closer to becoming a real-life Dio Brando. Isaiah smiled and activated his lust vein. Everybody had one on them at all times. The clone Isaiah smirked. You and me will be going to Lility, to kidnap Milika's Gremory. Everybody's jaw dropped. He was casually talking about kidnapping the son of the strongest devil in the underworld. Kurama burst out loud and started to laugh, ha ha ha. You crazy bastard. So this is what you meant by blackmail. Yasaka frowned. Isaiah, I hope that you are not trying to use a child as blackmail material. This topic hit close to home as Kuno was almost used against her. This time Tiamat interrupted. Milika's won't be harmed. We are not monsters. But if a clone of the little kid were to be used as blackmail, and then had his arm broken, then there is no problem. Bingo, Isaiah smiled. Dino pulled himself up from his bed. Everyone in the world will be thinking we are at the peace conference. Since the biblical faction has a lot of spies, they will never see the attack on Shinto and 5 clans coming. With them gone, we can expand their entire influence over Japan. Riser started to pace. Isaiah, what's my role in this? Specifically. Baka, who do you think Lucifer is going to bring a wild deadpan at him? And Riser's eyes widened. I'm going to be facing off against Satan's. Riser stood there shocked before he gathered himself. No, it's impossible for me to win, but I can stall. Especially with the new trick Isaiah and Gasper taught me. I never did learn where Gasper found this knowledge from. Chiron started to count off her fingers. Well, Grafia will definitely come. And Rias's peerage. Alongside with a few troops. Sirafal might come back now that Sana was also attacked. Asia pitched in. Make that a 100%. I was informed by my contacts back in Asgard that she came to Lilith once she heard what happened in Qa. Roswis reported, like a professional secretary. Even though in private she wears her jumpsuit all the time. She usually wore the ones from the show Squid Game. So I have to stall Grafia and Sirafal alongside the Red Dragon Emperor. Riser mused. It will be a tough challenge. Especially since I'm practically going up against 2 Moos. Isaiah patted him on the back. Don't worry. It will only be for a few minutes. Make it flashy with your new power and focus on the kids. Grafia and Sirafal will protect them. Oh, and once Issei Haido gets crazy mad, allow him to pass through. I have use for him. Riser didn't understand but still nodded. Well, people. Let's go. We have a war to win and a mood to blackmail. Isaiah, you are way too excited for this. Tiamat shook her head, but was still smiling. Feldera, here is a camera. Wear it when you fight. And for God's sake don't break it. We need the footage for our videos. I will be wearing one too. Gasper said while typing something on his laptop. Omu. The world will bow down before our awesomeness. Rahahaha. Feldera laughed out loud. Yo, get me one too. Dino joined in on the conversation. The rest of the group ignored the otaku trio. Back to the present. Amilikas, are you alright? Sertsk yelled out. The little boy sniffed. Father, I am scared. Tears were gathering in his eyes. Isaiah, how could you? Sirafal roared out, causing him to turn to her. How could I? Remember who attacked first? I had no intention of kidnapping the kid if everything went peacefully. But when he attacked, I gave the signal. So don't you dare start pointing fingers. Mother. Grafia was enraged, especially when she heard Milikas's cry. Sertsk grit his teeth. What do you want? You bastard! Issei dashed at him. His aura engulfing his scale mail. He had totally lost his reasoning. Issei, no! Akeno yelled out, but he was too enraged to listen. Dragon shot! Haido yelled out. Isaiah just sighed and flicked his fingers. The dragon shot was cut in half and Haido got a slash mark across his chest. Ah! Issei screamed out in pain but didn't stop. Boost! 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 You dare touch my Buckhouse family! Haido's mechanical voice sounded out through the scale mail. Boost! 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 Isaiah raised an eyebrow at that. Such a simpleton and such a stupidly powerful gear. Say what you will about God, the boosted gear reacts to emotions. In true context, Haido is the perfect host if he wasn't so weak. Hevala said the same thing. Albion smirked. What exactly are you trying to achieve here, Isaiah? Wait and see. Isaiah swung his hand, causing a few more cuts to land on Hoido, who boosted even further, completely lost in his anger. We have to stop that kid before he gets himself K*LLED. Sirafal commented, but Riser stood in front of all of them. He was sweating. This was an extremely consuming state. And not to mention he was stalling the former and current Satan Leviathan. Hat. I truly have come a long way, Riser thought to himself as he caused more flames to appear. But I really hope Isaiah hurries up. I am not liking my odds against these monsters. No matter how immortal I am. A/N. Sorry for taking so long. Kiba chapter 114 was a pain in the ass to write. Had to rewrite the fight scene like 6 times. I was honestly stuck on it. But we are good now. Chapter 106, Consequences 2. Surtska's mind worked as fast as possible. He was making plan after plan, thinking of anything that could help him in this situation. His son and sister have been kidnapped and are being held hostage. The enemies want Isaiah's head in exchange for Rias. Yet Isaiah now holds his son. And standing before him was the son of the Phoenix family. Doesn't matter if Riser left or not. If he gets serious he would k*ll the kid by accident. And that would mean losing the support of the wealthiest family in the Underworld. I need someone from Nexus to exchange for my son. Damn it, to think I would have to resort to getting a hostage. The moment Issei hit his peak boosts, Surtsk moved. His power exploded. He entered a quasi-true form. He didn't need power right now, he needed speed. Entering his true form would take time and destroy his surroundings, none of those would save his son. Surtsk appeared in a moment in front of the generals of Nexus. Just as Issei was charging up his attack. The moment Surtsk grabbed someone he noticed something wrong. He felt contact with their skin but his hand went through their flesh. He watched as they disappeared into thin air. Illusions, clones. His mind froze, he didn't know what to do. Dragon Blaster. Haido called out, snapping Surtsk out of it. Right, Riser is still here. He was just about to go after him when he felt an enormous attack behind him. Issei. Surtsk's eyes widened as the attack him right in the back, sending him flying. He gritted his teeth. Due to his surprise he wasn't able to destroy all of the power in the attack with pod as he didn't expect it at all. Isaiah smirked. Lacerate. A gash appeared on Surtsk's arm. Divide and his power got stolen from him. But that wasn't his focus. He turned to Isaiah who was standing next to Haido with a katana in his hand. Haido pointed his hand at Surtsk's Kiba. Let go of Buku's nephew. This froze Surtsk's, Grafia, and Sirafal on the spot. He is being mind contorted. Isaiah created another sword. The Sacred Gear Extractor. Soul Reaper. And stabbed Haido the back. Gah! He gaped in pain. His head turned downwards to see a sword sticking out of his chest. Blood was pooling from his chest. Wah! Asterisk crack. Crash, asterisk. His scale mail broke into countless fragments. His gauntlet disappeared as well. Issei-kun. Akeno screamed out and was about to fly to him when Sirafal grabbed her and threw her behind her. Get a grip, girl. Things just took a turn for the worst. Why does this shit always happen to me? Sirafal screamed inside her head. Isaiah pulled an enormous amount of power in the sword. When he pulled out the sword there was a glowing red orb in the circular sword in the middle of the blade. He threw Haido at the group. He is still alive. Now in case you haven't forgotten, I have the kid as a hostage. So if you want him to live I suggest you stop resisting. And have a civilized conversation. Civilized? You are holding my child hostage. Surtsk called out. What the hell do you want? Calm down, and as for what I want? Let's start with some info. How did you break the contract you and I made before I left? Isaiah asked Surtsk, who glared daggers at him. I used my true form to destroy the concept of the contract from my side. Isaiah just snored. Het. Ironically, you are even worse than the original Lucifer. At least he kept his word and honored the deals he made. Isaiah, enough games. You hold the upper hand. What is it that you want in exchange for Milica's? Sirafal stepped in before things got even worse. Man, I hate this kid. He is provoking Surtsk even more, so he slips up and he gains more from this hostage situation. Isaiah had a thoughtful expression. Well, what could I want? Surtsk has already shown that he is more than willing to break a magical contract, let alone a deal like this. What guarantee do I have that he won't do it again? Me. Grafia stepped up. I will put my life on the line. Grafia. Surtsk was shocked. Grafia just glared at him. This is on you, Surtsk. I will not let him harm my son. I am willing to make a magical contract. That if Surtsk breaks this deal, my life is forfeit if you wish for it. Sirafal facepalmed Grafia. You are Satan Leviathan now. You can't do shit like this. Hell, you didn't even last a few months before you flipped. Grafia looked at Sirafal and Surtsk with a cold look. He is my son. I couldn't care less about the Satan position or devil kind. Isaiah whistled. Who? So let me get this straight. You are willing to stake your own life on the fact that Surtsks and the Devil faction will honor the agreement we make? And if it doesn't, you will take your son's place. That's so stupid though. She is basically just giving herself up as an extra hostage. Grafia nodded. As long as my son is safe, I don't care. Then again, with how incompetent the Devils are, she might just want to watch out for Milikas by herself. That part I kinda get. Hey. Well, I doubt you are powerful enough to destroy a magical contract like fake Lucifer over there. Like dude. You are the Devil. The big honcho. What does it say if you break deals left and right? Is honestly pathetic. Surtsks growled, what do you want? Isaiah kept silent for a while. He was communicating with Yasaka. She was giving him the exact amount of rare materials they needed from the Devils. Here you go. Isaiah passed them a list of demands and a magical contract with Grafia. Along with a dagger. You will be doing a double contract. Seeing as you Devils have already broken your word before. This is the only way I will agree to this. Sirafal read through the list of demands. Are you serious? Do you know how much you are asking? Isaiah just shrugged. Not my problem. And that should be within your limits. It was a carefully chosen sum. There will be no negotiations. He points at Grafia. That contract basically states that if Surtsks and the Devils break their word, Grafia will become a slave to Nexus. And will guard the HQ till the end of her life. In return, she will have her magic sealed and will go meet Milikas right now. Neither will be harmed, and once the deal is completed they will be let go. How do we know you will keep your part of the deal? Sirafal was worried that Nexus was going to screw them over. They were literally going to have their new Satan as a hostage. Because unlike you people, I am a demonic dragon of my word. You have 24 hours to gather the needed materials. Surtsks reluctantly nodded. Grafia signed the contract and stabbed the dagger in her arm. Activating the magic. She started at Isaiah. Take me to my son. The blonde devil just sighed. You know, I always hated how much of a stuck-up bitch you were. But now I can't even find the will to insult you. You did something rare among devils. Sacrificed yourself for your child. I can respect that. Riser, let's go. Freaking finally. Riser stopped his blue flames and returned to normal. His whole body was covered in sweat. He felt like he was going to pass out, but he calmly walked over to Isaiah and tried to show no weakness. See ya soon. Isaiah waved his hand as all of them disappeared with a teleportation circle. Surtsks fell on his knees. Fuck. He punched the ground, causing a giant explosion to happen. Power of destruction spread out, destroying anything in the vicinity. Sirafal jumped in the air before Surtsks started to blow shit up. Get a grip, Surtsks. He turned to her, his eyes were slightly red. Get a grip. They have my family. And lashing out won't save them. I think you just proved that. If you want to be useful, go and hunt down some leads about Rias. Isaiah won't harm them as long as we give what he wants. But Rias is the one in real danger. There is nothing I can do on that front. Now that I am no longer Satan Leviathan. My word has dropped a lot. After all, what is the point of having a connection with me if I am not the Mu of external affairs? Right. Surtsks stood up, he used a spell and swapped out some new clothes. Go get a shower, Zex. And something to eat. We will find her, Sirafal consoled him. Surtsks looked grim. But will we make it in time? He received no answer. Both of them went back to the devil capital Lilith in silence. Tokyo. Shinra family of the 5 clans. Grand Elder. Why are we just sitting around and waiting? We should be attacking those filthy yokai and devils, a young man passionately yelled out. Yes, Grand Elder. Some of those from the Nakiri clan are already out there, hunting down any yokai they find. Why must we of the great Shinra family hide here when even those from the Heimjima that are led by that damn woman are fighting? The leader of the Shinra family, the same one who kicked out Tsubaki out of the clan due to her possessing the sacred gear mirror Alice. But suddenly the old man froze as he felt energy gathering above the entire compound. Everybody down! He quickly yelled out as he gathered his mana. The more experienced ones also shielded themselves. But the young warriors were not so lucky. Boom! An explosion blew up the ceiling of their clan compound and *LLED a few of them. The Omjoji looked up and saw many different yokai with their blades drawn. Nexus has come for revenge. Chapter 107, Payback. The Shinra clan of the 5 clans wasn't the only one that was attacked. Nexus took their revenge seriously. But what's the point if they gain nothing in return? The solution was simple. Expand. They were going to attack the Shinto faction and all of its underlings and take over. The Nikari, Haimjima, Kushihashi, and Duman clans weren't any better. Nexus forces were pushing to K*LL the exorcists and capture high-value targets. Pushing the 5 clans to use their sacred beasts. The Shinto faction wasn't handling it any better. Due to the scheme Isaiah made up when he went to face off against Surtsk with his officers. The Shinto faction weren't prepared for an attack like this. Ebisu Shrine. Damn you savages! Ebisu the god of fishing and commerce yelled out. He was a very famous god in the Shinto mythology. Meaning he was taking in loads of faith. But sadly his strength didn't lie in fighting. He handled the money in the Shinto faction. Due to his faith level, he was in the middle of the low ultimate class. Not bad for someone who doesn't train or fight at all. Most gods were actually in the low to mid ultimate class. Unless you count the Hindu mythology. Many of them were just peak high class. Sadly for him, not having any fighting *LLS came to bite him in the ass. He was currently fighting Kurika and her unit. The attack was so unexpected that he just got ganged up. Kurika alone could have beaten him. Together with her personal team. She beat the crap of the god. Blame it on yourselves. Nay, Kurika stood in front of the god. Carrying one of Isaiah's god-slaying swords. If you didn't attack us, we probably would have left you alone. Sadly that is no longer an option. Nexus will be taking over Japan now. Kurika raised her sword. No way. Pucci. She didn't. Kurika directly stabbed him in the chest. And since she was attacking the main body and not an avatar, the god has died. Permanently. The Nico Xiao let out a sigh of relief. She pulled back the sword only for an orb-like energy to come out with it. Well, we don't have to worry about him anymore. Even if they manage to revive him, which should be easier due to his fame. He would be weakened and by then Nexus would have conquered the Shinto faction anyway. And with this, we have one more way to gather divinity. The orb settled, fused and formed an old Japanese golden coin. That was Ebisu's divine weapon in a sense. A true representation of what he was. A god of commerce. Kurika looked at the platoon that was with her. Fortify this place. Destroy the shrine and keep humans away and safe. Yes. Kurika-sama. Kurika nodded and teleported to another location. Fukuro Kyuju Shrine. Fukuro Kyuju, another of the 7 gods of fortune. He is officially the god of happiness, wealth, and longevity. Fukuro Kyuju appears to be in his late 50s to 70s, with a grey bob cut and mustache. He wears a black 3-piece suit with a monocle, an extremely tall top hat, a light brown scarf, and a dark brown checkered tie. Sadly for him, his classy appearance was ruined by the white-haired Nico Xiao raining down punches at him. His face was filled with bruises and his clothes were ruined. Chiron used her white flames on her punches. Growling. Stop, you filthy beast! I am a god. You are just some yokai that turned into a demigod. Fukuro Kyujo looked in disbelief as Chiron stuck a sword in his chest. Ironically, the 2 sisters finished off both gods in the same way. Move out, she ordered. Chiron was far from the tiny girl she used to be. Now her figure rivaled her sister's. And she had an aura that meant business. Her sister fights more with magic. But she has always been an up-close and personal fighter. Now under Isaiah's teachings and his swords she could fight and K*LL gods. It was mostly thanks to the boost sword. The ability to double their fighting power is priceless. And since it didn't occupy any space in their souls, they had space for any sacred gears that they find in the future. Chiron got a ping through one of the swords. Naisama has finished and is heading out to the next target. I should start moving too. She pulled out a sword and the orb of divinity with it. Like Ebisu, the orb quickly formed an old golden coin. Let's go. Hi. As you command, Teiko. Kagutsuki, the god of fire and volcanoes. Kagutsuki is an adult god who appears to be in his early 20s. He has short wavy black hair often resembling flame-like shapes. Buhum. Buhum. Buhum asterisk. He was not having a good time. Clash. Yasaka, damn you! You traitorous fox! He threw a magma punch at the blonde vixen. Yasaka threw out her fox fire, blocking the magma punch. Why did I have to get him? Yasaka complained in her mind. Kagutsuki is a pain in the ass to fight against. Yasaka silently used the boost sword to raise her strength. These things are such cheats. But when you are the one using them they are great. I get her, the dude is like Akainu and Ace fused together with a big control over those concepts. And has lived for thousands of years. Ha! You called me a traitor. But you putting the yokai and onmyoji against each other to maintain some sort of balance in Japan isn't betraying us? Who have sworn to serve you? Yasaka yelled out. She was a Miko, priestess, for the sun goddess Amaterasu. You should have kept quiet and maintained the balance. Kagutsuka sneered as he raised his katana. The sword looked like it was alive, a living magma. It constantly pulsed and flames came out of it. Maintain this. Yasaka focused her ki and mana into her claws as they were set ablaze by blue flames. She took a swipe at him, her opponent blocked her strike and was pushed back. Nice try, little fox. But I am one of the strongest Shinto gods in combat. Why couldn't Kurama handle this one? Oh right, he had something special planned. Yasaka prepared herself for a long fight. Seeing as both of them were pretty equal. Inari Kami. Inari is the Shinto god of foxes, fertility, rice, tea, and sake, of agriculture and industry, of general prosperity, and worldly success. He has a demi-human form, a humanoid fox with white fur. N he looks like DBS Fox Hakaishin, but white fur and in a kimono. Well, look who made his way up in the world. Inari smiled at Kurama. You know me? Kurama asked in a surprised tone. Inari sneered, I'm the fox god. I know each fox who has more than one tail and is stronger than mid-class. Kurama steeled his features. I see. You knew about my condition then. Inari just smirked. Ha, some kind of fox god you are. Kurama sneered at the man. Why would I save a dirty mutt like you? Inari said casually, completely sure of himself to take on Kurama even though he is a sage. But he does have the right to be confident. He is one of the stronger Shinto gods. Golden aura burst from Kurama just for that comment. I'll make your death slow and painful. I will say those words back to you. This is the first time I get to K*LL a sage. You are quite the prize. I think I will mount your head on my wall. Inari followed up as divine energy released from him. The air shook. The earth cracked. Space itself was ripping apart between them, just from their auras clashing. Then they moved. Bohum. Bishamontan, also known as Vaisravana or Bishamon, is one of the 7 gods of fortune. She is a recognized goddess of war and warriors even though she is officially a god of fortune. Bishamon is a goddess who appears to be in her early 20s with extremely long blonde hair that reaches her feet where it is curly at the end with bangs swept to the right side, purple eyes that has slit-like pupils, dark pink lips. Vina, or Bisha as she is called by her close friends, was having a bit of a tough time. Boom! A blonde figure was slammed into the ground, creating a small crater. The blonde goddess stood up and spat out some blood. Not bad. Holy Emperor, she looked to the sky. Dino had donned his scale mail and was looking down at Bishamon. The surprising thing about him was his left arm. It wasn't covered by the scale mail. Instead, it was a deep metallic grey color. Almost black. But it still held a similar shape to his right arm. My old man did a pretty good job with this. It even matched my right arm when I put on scale mail. I agree. It functions even better than expected. And you can channel mana through it so it will be durable in combat. Azazel has outdone himself, Vritra commented. Dino looked at the blonde woman. You are wrong about one thing. It's the Holy Prison Emperor. Remember that. Come. Bishamon yelled out as she stretched her hand. A giant cleaver-like sword appeared and she grasped it. There it is again. Dino frowned. That's the 3rd time she has changed her weapon. Is it a multiform weapon, or is she just carrying an entire armory? Dino glanced at his left arm. I won't make stupid decisions, even while I am under effect from enemies. They have used my laziness and irritation against me, causing me to lose my arm. I need to remain calm and collected at all times. Dino spreads out his wings covered in black draconic armor along the top of the wings. He pointed the true Longinus at his enemy. Yasakani no Megatama. Countless of tiny sharp beams of light rushed at Bishamon at incredible speed. Hey! She kept doing and slashing the blades in front of her while flying in the air. She was quickly approaching Dino, who shifted his pose and grabbed the spear with both hands. Extend, he commanded. Bzzzzzzz, the spear extended. Bishamon blocked it with her cleaver but was pushed down to the ground, causing a dust cloud. Asterisk bang. 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 Bang asterisk. Suddenly divine bullets came out of the dust cloud and hit Dino, pushing him back and doing some damage to his armor. The dust cloud cleared, showing Bishamon holding two large guns. One of the guns glowed before it disappeared, and in its place was a whip, which she used to strike at Dino, who dodged the attack. But just as it did, the whip seemingly had a mind of its own. It twisted in midair and tied around his ankle. Well, that answers the question about her power. Vritra mused. Yeah, now it's confirmed that she has an entire armory. Well, let's go, no need to drag this out any further. He held his spear in front of him. Balance break, Holy Draconic Lancer. Dino entered his second stage balance breaker. He usually avoids going into the true Longinus balance breaker due to how energy consuming it is. But his enemies this time weren't the type that Cloud be faced with half the effort. That's more like it. Bishamon yelled out as she changed her weapons again. She summoned a Bicento, Whitebeard's weapon. Sorry, Dino spoke out loud. His action confused his enemy. It Thyratana, a white light glowed, and Bishamon felt herself go weaker. What did you do? She screamed out at him. Perhaps one of the more absurd abilities of the balance breaker subspecies. Also known as the female treasure, it completely stops the special ability of women for a short time. Asaratana. Dino teleported right beside Bishamon. Kakaratana. Dino slammed his spear into her base until completely shattering it. The spear continued on and pierced her stomach. Ah! Dino didn't let up, and flooded her system with holy energy, causing the god to pass out. It's weird how much better I'm fighting right now. Did that emotion control really make me that much weaker? We need to find the guy who was doing that. It's a dangerous ability to remain on the battlefield. It's too early for you to die, Dino spoke out, and a second later a teleportation circle appeared beneath the goddess, teleporting her to Nexus HQ. The result of the battle. Bishamontan, one of the 7 gods of fortune, was captured. Chapter 108, Payback 2. Takemikazuchi is a god of thunder. He is also sometimes identified as a god of swords. His hairstyle and clothes were strictly matched to the ones worn in old Japan. Where is Isaiah? The god strangely completely ignored the yokai who were attacking his shrine, as well as Zenovia and Misaki, the swordswoman duo. He is currently busy. Zenovia raised Durandal at the god. But we are here to fight you. Misaki stared at the god as shadows started to move around her. How insulting. I have no time to play with little girls, Takemikazuchi sneered. Zzzzzzp boom. A lightning bolt hit the god and he disappeared. Zenovia and Misaki along with the yokai stared speechlessly at the scorched pavement. I did not see that coming, Zenovia mumbled. I was supposed to keep him busy. I need to report this. Did that bitch really run away? Misaki was furious. She trained hard, not to be some backup member that everybody forgets is there, but to prove herself as a real general. And this bitch of a god ran away? I'll gut him like a fish. The shadows around her darkened and spread, and little hands and tendrils started to form the shadows. Right. Zenovia quickly pulled out her phone and sent a message to Gasper. Takemikazuchi ran away. Misaki is close to losing it. Find him or some other target. Fast. Tenjin, the god of learning. Tenjin appears to be a middle-aged man in his late 50s, with grey hair that is shoulder length when down. He is normally seen wearing sakutai shugata, a very formal outfit worn by courtiers at the Imperial Japanese court in the Heian and subsequent periods. He is one of the most well-known gods in Japan. And surprisingly quite strong. He has mastered many magics, but is the foremost expert in kanji runes. How interesting. I never imagined I would face off against a mere Valkyrie. Even if you possess a Longinus. It's quite insulting actually. Tenjin looked down at the silver-haired Valkyrie. Ross Weiss remained calm. The purple mist started appearing from her and messing with the space around them. I am Ross Weiss. A Valkyrie from the Norse. Now I stand with Nexus as the defense general. For your transgressions against my faction, I will deliver judgment upon you. Tenjin laughed hearty at that. Deliver judgment upon a god? From who? He smirked at her. Isaiah sends his regards. Rose swung her arms to the side and hundreds of magic circles appeared in the sky behind her. And this kept going for 1, 3, 5 seconds. It's still not done. Tenjin was visibly sweating. He started to summon his own along with making kanji runes in the ground. After 10 full seconds did Rose finally stop. There were thousands of magic circles behind her. Grand Chariot. Rose yelled out. Like multicolored water drops. The attacks rained down upon Tenjin. Shit! He cursed out as he swiftly defended and counterattacked. Asterisk boom. 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 Boom asterisk. Riser and Isaiah arrived back at Nexus HQ. Riser just slumped on the couches. I'm so freaking tired. I can't believe I managed to pull that off. Isaiah smirked. Take a good rest. You did well today. I was impressed. So what are you going to do with the boosted gear? Riser asked Isaiah as he took out a bottle of wine. Isaiah poured a drink for himself as well. He was going to rest up a bit before going out to join the fights. I don't know. Probably give it to one of our own. Yet. But still, what shitty luck for Rias. Things just haven't been going her way. I mean, despite what she did to me. She didn't deserve to be kidnapped by those maniacs. Then again, if she was stronger she wouldn't have been kidnapped so easily. Riser sighed. Well, not like it would have done her any good. She was taken right under Surtska's nose. No amount of training could have prepared her against a god specializing in stealth. True. I just hope we are far away from the impact when Surtsk learns what has happened to his little sister. He might just literally explode. Riser shivered from the thought of being anywhere near him. I wonder. Isaiah mused with a crazy grin which got wider by the second. Isaiah. Homie. You are scaring me, Riser said with a nervous smile. He has that look on his face again. When he is about to do something crazy. Isaiah just pulled his finger down in the air and a portal opened up to the dimensional gap. Isaiah, what the hell? Riser was ignored as he jumped into the portal and shifted into his dragon form, and after a few minutes he found Great Red. What do you want? The giant red dragon looked at Isaiah. Greetings, Great Red. I am here to ask you a question. I am willing to pay for this information, he spoke politely. Pay? What could you pay me with? Great Red said with an amused tone. Luckily I came prepared. It was a pain to get and make this. Isaiah pulls out a big 3L bottle. And his draconic face smiles at Great Red. Dragon apple wine. Great Red freezes wine. Dragon apples were a delicacy only grown in places that had a large concentration of dragons. Since the natural energy they produce is seeped into the earth and plants. Naturally, they love their apples and protect them to the point of laying down their lives for the apples. So much so that even Isaiah was hurting to part with this wine. It was extremely hard to get this. And as a dragon himself he felt like he was giving away his entire treasury. These dragon instincts are something else. What do you want to know? What is the current situation of Rias Gremory? Isaiah asked. This question was very unlike him. After all, he doesn't care at all about her. Great Red also knew this, but dragon wine was more important than his curiosity. He kept quiet for a while. Searching through the dreams. It appears she is in Greece. In one of Poseidon's penthouses. Looks like he is about to rape her. Typical of Greek gods. Can't keep it in their pants, Red scoffed, looking down on the entire Greek pantheon. Beside Hestia and Hades. The rest are rapists. Athena, a virgin goddess, basically mind rapes men to create her demigod children. The only exception is Artemis, but she is a misocystic bitch who runs around with her feminazis and K*LLS men and anybody who offends her in any way. She sometimes forces women to join her hunt. Oh, and if one of her hunters loses her virginity like Callisto, who was raped by Zeus, she turned her into a bear. Oh wow. I didn't expect to be right. Then again, Poseidon is predictable. Here you go. Isaiah threw the bottle at him. Can I have the location, please? Great Red grabbed the bottle with a small tendril of dream energy. What do you hope to accomplish with this? Red asked as he telepathically sent the location to Isaiah, who only smirked. Why should I send my men in enemy territory when there is a Siscon who would happily go in there and wreak some chaos for me? Ah. Clever. Well, if you will excuse me, I have a bottle of wine to enjoy, Red said as he started to shrink. After a few seconds, a giant of a man stood in front of Isaiah. Standing at roughly 3 meters tall with a muscular build. He has long dark red hair that reaches down to his neck and has red eyes. On his right arm he has red markings that go from his wrist all the way to his mid-bicep. He was wearing dark red clothes. Everything from his shoes to his pants, belt, and t-shirt was dark red. He opened the bottle and sniffed the top. An intense smell of apples surrounded the area. Perfect Red opened up a portal and walked through it, completely ignoring Isaiah, who was stunned. Hey! So that's what he looks like? Right then. Now all I have to do is inform Surtsks about Rias and watch the chaos happen. In the meantime, I'd better say hi to Amaterasu. We don't want her to get lonely up there away from the battlefield. Greece. In a certain hotel where the penthouse belonged to Poseidon, Surtsks has failed to deliver Isaiah. Before they follow through their original intent of sending parts of Rias to him, Poseidon wanted a taste of Lucifer's sister. Despite her personality, Rias was a very beautiful girl. She is one of the most beautiful devils in the underworld. She was currently tied up in the bed with a look of fear in her eyes, as she watched Poseidon undress. He. Let's see how you compare to the other devil slaves I have. Chapter 109, Destruction Incarnate. While Nexus was waging war, Surtsks was in his office in the underworld. He was pale and had bags under his eyes. He hasn't been eating or sleeping because of the stress. He has been personally hunting down some leads to get to Rias faster. Ajilka was dealing with the aftermath of attacking Isaiah. He was tracking down all the things they needed to pay Isaiah with, and keeping the devils in check. He had already K*LLED 2 minor council members since they annoyed him and tried to interfere. If they fail to make do on their promise, Graphia's life will be in their hands. Isaiah could snap his fingers and just like that Graphia will die. Sirafal spread out her contacts to search for Rias. But it's not looking good. Since they attacked Rias to get to Surtsks, it was likely they would try to use Sana against her even though she is not a Satan anymore. So Sirafal is on Sanatan watch duty. Graphia puts a plate on his desk. Surtsks, you need to eat. And at least sleep for a few hours. You haven't slept at all since Rias was taken. Surtsks just let out a hollow laugh. How can I sleep? Those monsters have my sister. And I have failed the demand they set. Who knows what they are doing to her now? If she is even alive at all. You mustn't lose hope. We will get her back. There was a loud knock on the door. Surtsks sighed and straightened up. Come in. A soldier quickly rushed in. Sir. A sword suddenly dropped down from the sky in front of the gate. It has a letter attached to it. Addressed to you, sir. He frowned as he saw the sword and letter. What does Isaiah want now? Surtsks opened up the letter and started to read it. His face quickly changed to shock and disbelief. Isaiah had sent him Rias's coordinates, and said that she was in danger. Graphia read the letter over his shoulder and quickly sent the information to the others. Go. She knew it was useless to stop him from going. He might as well go ahead and see the situation for himself. Surtsks quickly stood up as a teleportation circle appeared beneath him. He plunged into the coordinates and disappeared in a red flash. Seconds later he appeared on the penthouse balcony. He was confused at first, but then he saw it through the windows. His sister was pinned down, tears streaming down her face as Poseidon raped her with a crazy grin on his face. Surtsks' power erupts. Half of the penthouse was destroyed. Wah! Poseidon called his divine power, but a punch hit him in the head, sending him flying through the wall. Rias looked at her savior brother. Surtsks waved his hand and a teleportation circle appeared beneath her, taking her home. Poseidon dashed into his room. He was holding his divine weapon, a golden trident, as water appeared out of nowhere and started to flood the room. Die, bastard! Surtsks said nothing. He just let go, of his control, of his will, of himself. Boom! A black-red wave exploded from the penthouse. Wherever it passed, everything was reduced to dust. The furniture, the walls, the people on the floors below. Even the water Poseidon created with his divine energy. Surtsks had truly become destruction incarnate. Nexus sighed. Meredith. Are you sure you want to do this? Misaki asked her in a worried tone as she watched Meredith use her Neolonginus Alpheka tyrant. She was currently brainwashing the captured goddess Bishamontan. Meredith kept quiet after a while. Honestly, no. But they were the ones who attacked first. Dino lost an arm. Our side took some losses as well. War is never pretty. Misaki nodded. They didn't ask for this. But now they have a duty to all the people who believe in them. A duty to end this war. She glanced at where a special sword was sitting. It was one of Isaiah's ink swords. But this one was pumped full of mana and raw ki, making it very unstable. A tattoo bomb, if you will. And this will detonate once Bishamontan enters the main part of Takamagahara. They tried to do the same thing to us. This is just karma. Takamagahara. What do you mean you can't come? Amaterasu, the chief god of the Shinto pantheon, yelled at the communication circle. Exactly that. Surtsk's fucking Gremory somehow found Rias's location. While Poseidon was raping her. The island of Stella is missing a hotel now. Hades grumbled. Things turned to shit, especially since that little fucker Poseidon was so injured that he ran away into the sea. Surtsk is strong, but if Poseidon wanted to run away in the water, nobody could stop him other than another sea god. Even worse news is that Surtsk's next stop was Olympus. I don't give a shit. Send anybody. Send the goddamn dragons. It's not like they were injured in the fight with the biblical faction, Amaterasu yelled out. Hades just sighed as he rubbed his temples. Fine. I'll cut them loose. Don't blame me when Japan is burning. The reason why the attack on the biblical faction worked is because Anubis lent us his army. They are undead. Their souls are bound to his realm. It will just take a few decades for all of them to reform. Amaterasu scowled. I can rebuild Japan. What I can't do is take on Nexus alone. Hades nodded. Things were a mess. Their main plan was to use Surtsk's against Isaiah to weaken each other. Not only had that failed, they managed to piss off both sides. But who could have known the location of Rias and Poseidon? Even he didn't know that Poseidon had taken Rias to have some fun against his orders. That fool couldn't wait a few days. A Grim Reaper rushed in. Sir, Poseidon has entered our realm. It appears that he is running from someone. Shit. Hades stood up. Someone brings me my fucking dagger. Hades summoned his divine weapon. A helmet. The helmet of invisibility. At least that fool will be a useful distraction. Samael's poison might not work so well on someone like Surtsk's. But it's still the strongest poison in the world. Strongest devil or not. He is going to feel this one. Hades quickly ended the call. Amaterasu seemed frustrated. Damn those fools. I hope those blasted dragons arrive quickly. Suddenly Amaterasu looked toward the entrance of Takamagahara. Sigh, at least Bishamontan has returned. She turned to one of her servants. Notify her to come and meet me. I want a report directly from her about her fight. Hi, Amaterasu-sama. The female servant bowed as he headed off to inform Bishamontan. She arrived in minutes in front of the goddess. Bishamontan-sama. Amaterasu-sama has called for you. She wishes to hear a report directly from you. Bishamontan simply nods. The servant turns around and starts walking. Bishamontan-sama is acting strange. It appears the fight has affected her. She must have lost. Otherwise, she would have been telling people about her victory to everyone she meets. As they got near the palace, Tsukuyomi, brother of Amaterasu, was waiting for them. Bishamontan. Hurry up. We need your report so we can make a plan. What was keeping you? You usually arrive right away. Bishamon started to shake. Her movements got weird, she was struggling to move. Blood started to come out of her eyes, then her ears and nose. Bishamontan. Tsukuyomi quickly got near the blonde goddess. She quickly swallowed down the blood in her mouth. And she barely managed to mumble it out before the light in her eyes faded. Tsukuyomi's eyes widened before he jumped backward while forming a barrier around Bishamontan, but it was too late. Just as the barrier started to form around him, a bright white light engulfed everything around it. An enormous explosion engulfed the entrance of the palace. The explosion was so big that it shook the whole realm. Takamagahara was shaking. Nexus branch location. Meredith opened her eyes. It's done. But Bishamontan recited in the end. She didn't enter the palace. Tsukuyomi was waiting at the entrance. Bishamontan managed to resist my control. Isaiah nodded. Well done, Meredith. Rose, you are next. The Valkyrie gave a small nod and closed her eyes to focus. As soon as Bishamontan exploded, it destabilized the space in Takamagahara. Clone Roswis will use dimension loss to force open a breach in the realm. Usually, that would be very difficult. But with all the chaos currently happening in Takamagahara, its defenses are down. So much so that a clone is enough to cause a breach. Clone Kurama stepped up and looked at their army beneath him. Once Isaiah enters, he will create a permanent portal, linking this place to the heart of the Shinto pantheon. This is it. The final battle. Hundreds of years, being oppressed by those gods. Using us to keep their exorcists in place, all in some delicate balance as if we were pawns. That ends today. After this, there will be no Shinto pantheon. After this, we rule Japan. Bzzzzzzzzz. Rose opened up a tear in space. Isaiah wasted no time entering. After a few moments, the tear started to crackle. An insane amount of magic was poured into it. Rose helped with stabilizing it on their end. Then it started to expand. More and more. The image on the other side became clearer. Clouds and houses were seen everywhere. Isaiah took out a sword and pointed at the castle. Everyone, charge! His words were engulfed by roars and howls as the yokai rushed. The siege on Takamagahara has begun. Chapter 110, Siege. As soon as the explosion happened on Takamagahara, all the gods who were fighting Nexus paled. Many had different reactions, but all of them had one thing in common: fear and panic. Never in their long history has this happened. Their home, the core of their pantheon, was being attacked. Kurama vs Inari. Both god and sage were clashing in their human form, or in Inari's case his demi-human form. Kurama knew how stupid it was for him to go in his giant fox form. Why the hell would he give an enemy an even bigger target to hit? Suddenly Kurama smirked. Isaiah sent the signal. Seeing this, Inari the god of foxes frowned. What are you smirking at? I have the advantage. And he did somewhat. Inari was among the main reasons why Yasaka was kept in check. He has a major advantage against foxes. It's like a sea creature trying to fight Poseidon. His divinity suppresses them. Inari froze. He had a panicked expression on his face and screamed out "No!" He unconsciously turned to Takamagahara, which proved to be a really big mistake. Kurama acted the exact same moment that Inari screamed out and started to turn. His hand and claws gained a golden color. The senjutsu energy was so condensed he could feel the strain it was making on his muscles. In a burst of speed, he appeared in front of Inari, who gathered himself and realized he had left himself wide open. Hey! Inari yelled out as he raised his arm to guard himself, his divinity washing over Kurama, who immediately felt strained and weakened, but he pushed through. Kurama threw his arm forward like a lance. His hand broke through his guard and stabbed Inari in the left side of his middle torso. The fox god screamed out in pain as the senjutsu energy blasted him from within. Sage energy was much more pure and dangerous to mess with. Inari punched Kurama in the face, sending him flying back. Before kneeling over and coughing out blood, Kurama spat out a little blood and grinned. That was a major win for him. He was being stalled and pressured the entire fight. And things had finally turned around. He specifically asked for this opinion, knowing that Inari is the hardest counter possible for him. Beating him and taking his divinity will result in a monumental change. That's why Kurama asked to fight him. And his chance finally appeared. Kurama dashed. He didn't want to give Inari any chance of getting away and healing. Inari gritted his teeth as they both fought. Inari, as the only god in the Shinto pantheon who could use senjutsu, had an advantage in close combat. But now he had a hole in the left side of his middle torso, right where the left of the diaphragm was. The diaphragm was an important muscle that helps you breathe. And now, with that muscle working at half capacity, he was fighting a sage set on K*ling him. Both fighters increased the ki they were receiving from nature, giving them even more strength, speed, and durability. They strengthened their bodies and intended to beat the other to death. But this also resulted in increased strain on the body. Seeing that Inari was getting sluggish and tired, Kurama smirked and took out a red dagger from his clothing. The green gem on the dagger shined green. Boost! Kurama's fighting power doubled in an instant. What? Inari yelled out, but punched in the face before he knew it. Kurama wasted no time into slashing him his claws. He tore a chunk of his chest along with Inari's entire right bicep. Inari went from dominating the fight, then getting sneak attacked, causing them to be somewhat tied for a little while before he got tired, and now he was getting slashed and pummeled into the ground. I refuse to accept this. Shut it! Kurama grabbed his face and swung him into the ground. Boom! Inari coughed out before he saw Kurama right above him. Boom! Kurama landed directly on him. One of his feet was on Inari's good left arm and the other was on his chest. It's over, Kurama growled out. Inari glared at the sage with loathing. The Shinto will not fall. They will K*ll all of you bastards. Kurama grinned at him with malice oozing out of him. They can try, but they will all soon share the same fate as you. Kurama lifted his right hand, his claws extending, and under the wide eyes of Inari the fox god, slashed his throat, nearly completely decapitating the head. Kurama quickly pulled out another dagger and stabbed Inari's heart. And smiled when he saw the dagger slowly start absorbing all of Inari's divinity. This should make me stronger. A lot stronger. Isaiah said that there hasn't been any sage in history that was also a god. There are two paths to ascending. Becoming a sage or becoming a god. One is through the earth's blessing and ki. The other through the gathering of faith. What would happen if you give a sage a whole lot of faith? I can't wait to find out. Ha 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 ha. Inari vs Kurama. Winner. Sage Kurama, leader of the yokai in Japan. And soon. The new fox god of Nexus. Tenjin, the god of learning vs Ross Weiss. Tenjin, a god said to know all the magic and runes possible in the Shinto pantheon, was dirty, bloody, and battered. Rose was the same. Her armor was cracked and she had dirt and bruises on her body. Both of them were locked in what could be said a true mage battle. Asterisk boom. 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 Boom asterisk. Fire roared, only to be quenched by ice. Earth rose from the ground to be destroyed by lightning. Tornadoes coming from the sky are pierced by pressurized water. Dozens of attacks fired each second. Hundreds and hundreds of moves exchanged each minute. The area around them was like a scene from an apocalypse. And Rose was whining. She fired twice as many spells at the same time as Tenjin, who was surviving due to the knowledge and experience he has accumulated over millennia. But Rose was also a wielder of a Longinus. Dimension Lost can do more than just create and enter dimensions. Its purple fog can block any attack. Especially magical ones. In the original DxD world, the magician Gregor used it to block an attack from Chief God Odin. There was purple fog all around Ross Weiss. She purposely didn't block some of the attacks with her spells just so more of them could be used to attack Tenjin. The purple fog was more than enough to protect her. Damn this Valkyrie! Tenjin was getting frustrated. The Longinus weren't called God K***lers for nothing. Just fighting one made a person feel hopeless. They were such absurd cheats, and now he was getting a first-hand experience. It's not over yet. Tenjin waved his arms and Japanese kanji started to write itself all around his position. On the air and ground. The space around the seals started to distort. Rose was frowning, trying to decipher the runes when she got a ping through one of the sword trinkets she carried. Isaiah and her clone were successful in breaking into Takamagahara. Tenjin's eyes widened. Nuhu. He went into full panic mode. Rose wasn't about to miss this opportunity boost. Her power doubled. She used every type of spell she knew and started to combine them all. The now giant rainbow-colored energy was being forced into the size of a lance. Rose quickly gripped it even as her skin burned at contact. Magic was being pumped through her muscles. She screamed a little aura, in her mind, imitating Asia. And threw it with all her strength. Tenjin seeing this and quickly threw all of his most powerful barriers and defense spells in front of him. The moment the lance hit them, there was a huge multicolored bright explosion. Tenjin screamed out. His barrier didn't hold out completely and the heat and flames from the explosion burned his clothes and skin. Half of his body was in terrible burns. Before he could move, Rose slammed a Nordic rune cluster in his chest, pinning him to the ground. The rune sealed his divine energy. Rose let out a sigh of relief before addressing the god. I apologize for what's about to come. But you have brought this upon yourselves when you attacked us. I don't know if there is an afterlife for gods, but I wish you the best with that. Rose stabbed Tenjin in the heart with Isaiah's dagger. Isaiah said that Tenjin's divinity suited me the best. Ross was the goddess of knowledge. Hee, that has a nice ring to it. Rose giggled in her mind like a little girl. After all, just like every little girl wanted to become a princess. Nearly all supernatural women hope to become as strong and as beautiful as goddesses. Nexus HQ. Isaiah was standing before Yasaka, Misaki, and Zenovia, who were on their knees with an embarrassed expression. You not only failed to defeat your targets but you also let them escape. Clone Isaiah raised an eyebrow. All three women lowered their heads a bit. I'm ashamed. Misaki, Zenovia, at least Yasaka fought, but what about you two? We didn't expect that the god would be such a pussy and not fight at all, Zenovia said bluntly. Yasaka and Misaki turned to Zenovia with shock, not expecting her to be so crass. But Isaiah couldn't hold it in and started to laugh. Ha ha ha. Sorry. I was just messing around. I don't blame you at all. Yasaka, you did a good job. Frankly, even I didn't expect that Kagutsuke would actually just summon a giant volcano below you and made it erupt just so he could cover the area with smoke and ash. Yasaka just sighed. He even went as far as blending in his energy signature to the ash cloud. I couldn't stop him. You at least got a chance to fight your opponent, Misaki grumbled. This whole situation was unfair. She trained hard, she trained a lot to prove herself. Yet that stupid cowardly god ran away. Isaiah chuckled. Don't worry. They are being taken care of as we speak. Takemikazuchi. Since he ran away from Zenovia and Misaki. Because apparently, they were too weak for him. He was on the lookout for strong opponents when he received a shock to his system. The center of their pantheon was being attacked. Faith is a strange thing. It travels first to the shrine and then to Takamagahara where it is stored. Takamagahara is like the back and the shrines are stores that generate revenue. So naturally he panicked and headed straight back to Takamagahara. But just as he arrived in the air he was met with a dark blue dragon waiting for him. Feldora was the one who came from the underworld to fight him. Greetings Takemikazuchi. God of Thunder. I the storm dragon Feldora will be your opponent. Prepare yourself. Feldora said in a dramatic voice before lightning coursed through his body and he flew at the god. Kagatsuki. The injured god appeared inside his shrine on Takamagahara. He growled in anger. Damn that traitorous wench. As soon as I heal I will get someone to help me take care of her. She will watch as we k*ll her daughter in front of her. Well, that isn't very nice. A dark voice sounded out from the shadows. Kagatsuki wasn't the god of fire and volcanoes for nothing. He pulsed his divinity and the entire shrine lit up. The figure revealed itself. It was a teenager. He was blonde and muscular and tall. He was about 175 centimeters. A little more growing and he would reach his desired height. The height of Dio Brando was 195 centimeters. Who are you? The god asked. Well, it was more of a command. Gasper smiled. Greetings. I am Gasper V-Lady. Your executioner. At that moment shadows started to rise from all over the place. Instead of getting rid of them, the fire was just giving them a source to grow from. Kagatsuki sneered. Executioner? You think too highly of yourself, child. But I supposed I can send your head back to that wench as a warning. Gasper just smiled. Tell me something, have you ever been frozen in time? Hey. Kagatsuki just looked confused at that random question. Gasper smirked as he unleashed his power. It practically rolled out of him as shadows gathered around them. Gasper spread his hands wide. Za Werado. A/N. This story started releasing here on WB on November 16, 2022. It has been a wild ride. I think this one was much better than my other two FICS. Get ready for the next one. As soon as I post all of the chapters of Kiba HP/DxD, Raven will begin. I will use the meantime to relax a bit and stock up on some more Raven chapters. Chapter 111, Siege 2. What the hell? Amaterasu burst through the windows of her compound. What she saw shook her to her very core. Takamagahara was being invaded. The entrance was forced open and an army was flooding in. She saw a blonde-haired man standing near the entrance. She could feel the power oozing out of him. Isaiah. Amaterasu was furious to say the least. They dare to attack my realm. Unforgivable. The surroundings caught on fire. The flames got hotter and hotter until the flames became black. Amaterasu's divine weapon in a way. A flame that can burn anything in creation. A flame once that has been activated will burn for 7 days and 7 nights. Unless Amaterasu wishes them to go away. Isaiah noticed a power spike in the distance and turned to the main pavilion. There he saw black fire as it spread throughout the air. Amaterasu the Black Sun. Time for the final showdown. Isaiah turned into his dragon form. Further terrifying the gods living there, after all many of them are not even that *LLED in fighting. Isaiah took to the skies. Amaterasu also flew towards him. A/N, doing this for all of you, you better appreciate it. Balance breaker scales shot out of Isaiah's back and landed on the ground behind him. Stopping in front of his army. Reflection swords. Fuck you Feldora for this name. Isaiah clapped his large draconic hands. And called upon the power he received when he reached to transcended class. Domain expansion, malevolent shrine. Boom. SHHH. Countless slashes exploded out from Isaiah. Thousands and thousands each second. They decimated everything around Isaiah. Buildings, gods, the realm itself was getting cut up. The few slashes that appeared near his army were reflected by the swords he put up earlier to protect them. "You brat!" Amaterasu yelled out. "Black Sun!" She opened her own domain. The black fire from behind her flew forward. Then the flames doubled, then tripled. They continued to grow until there was a literal sea of black fire. As a chief god, Amaterasu's had more practice with her domain. Her fire was powerful enough to burn through the slashes. It was like a slow tug-of-war that Isaiah was using. Their attacks kept pushing each other with the slashes retreating. But since when does Isaiah play fair? Boost. Boom. His domain expanded. Its strength doubled. But there was one more important thing. He had already attacked the black flames with his slashes. Divide. The sea got smaller. Isaiah pushed forward, causing more and more destruction as he pushed back Amaterasu. K*ling any Shinto gods in his domain. He quickly cut off the domain and turned into his human form. And flew straight into the sea. All of his different powers protected him. Along with his Raijin Jaka, West, a cloak of fire surrounded Isaiah, as he pointed the blade at where Amaterasu was behind the sea of fire. Pierce! He dashed and forcefully started to push through the black fire. His domain was sword. That means all aspects of the sword, including stabbing or piercing opponents. When he broke through, he was greeted by the surprised expression of the sun goddess. He quickly raised his blade high up, intending to cut down Amaterasu. She acted quickly, pushing her hands in front of her as the flames formed a barrier. But due to this she lost visibility of Isaiah and didn't see his face as he smirked. Lacerate. Slash. A 10 cm gash appeared on Amaterasu's back. Ga. The goddess gasped in pain. Before growling, "Die!" she let out a pillar of flames which pushed back Isaiah. The slash had a god-slaying effect along with poison. She quickly used her power to burn through it. "I didn't want to get into close quarters with him. I'll just have to ping him down." Amaterasu focused. As her flames started to condense around her, it turned into an ancient female samurai outfit. It was mostly black with dark red parts as well. A/N. Something like this. https://storage.googleapis.com/pi images/6521d619f1cb420985b72ff579c9f.jpg. The Black Sea receded and it started to separate and condense into fire javelins, birds, and all sorts of beasts and weapons. Looks like she has finally calmed down. Took her long enough. Then again, she did see her entire realm getting invaded and destroyed, so I kind of get it. But her mistake allowed me to use Lacerate on her. Now I can directly use Divide on her as I have landed a blow. Honestly, both those effects are just cheating. One guarantees a hit, and the other can only activate if you have hit the target. Amaterasu, despite being a chief god, she has no training in martial arts or any weapons. She has relied on one thing to keep everybody in Japan in line and keep enemies away. Her flames. Amaterasu uses her insane reserves and control over her flames to bully any opponent away from a distance. She quite literally pummels them with attacks, precisely aimed where she wants. She can control her flames from any distance. Like an orchestra conductor. Isaiah readied himself when he saw the attacks coming from him. He knew that now that she had calmed down, the fight would really begin. And it would be a long one. At their level, it's unlikely that they would ever be K*LLED in a fight. After all, if you cannot win, you can always run away. "This is gonna be a long one," Isaiah mutters before flinging his hands forward. Hundreds of slashes appeared and hit the black fire creatures, cancelling each other out. Or so it appeared. Of the creatures that were destroyed, Amaterasu gathered the scattered flames and recreated half. Great! That means I have to hit them at least 1 or 2 more times after they are first destroyed. Isaiah raised his hand. Zenith, a sword that is made by combining numerous other swords. It weakens the effect of each sword, but in return, it hits the opponent with multiple elements, energies, and debuffs. Divine Departure. Isaiah swung his sword, creating a giant air slash that flew at Amaterasu, engulfing the black fire creatures and completely destroying half of them. Amaterasu flew higher to dodge, but Isaiah wasn't going to make things easy for her. Lacerate. Slash. Another gash appeared, this time on her outer thigh. Amaterasu could only grit her teeth as her body became heavier, bringing her back down. She used her divine energy to heal the wound and stabilize her position. She saw the air slash and gathered the flames around her body. The black flames formed a spear tip. The air slash and flame spear clashed. Amaterasu was burning through the air's lash. Isaiah dashed hoping to pull this fight into close quarters when he was slammed by a white beam of energy. Sister! Isaiah grumbled, you have to be shitting me. He stood there staring at the god that interrupted him. Tsukuyomi Shinto, god of the moon. He was completely healed. So that's it, he was busy healing from the bomb. Joining the fight while he was injured would be a stupid mistake. Isaiah was facing the sun and moon of Japan. Two of the strongest gods in the Shinto pantheon. But he wasn't afraid. What good is it to be strong if your realm is destroyed and your territories captured? Isaiah pointed his sword at them. Come. Fighting two of you at once would be a sufficient handicap for you. You insolent brat, Tsukuyomi growled but stopped when he felt his sister's hand on his chest, stopping him in place. Don't let him goad you. He is very good at manipulating his opponents. Amaterasu glared at Isaiah with cold hatred, quite ironic since she is the goddess of the Sunday. Very well, he took a deep breath. Let's take him down together, sist. Lacerate. Slash. A gash appeared over Tsukuyomi's face. You bastard. Amaterasu turned to Isaiah. She quickly gathered a large amount of energy to attack. A giant flaming ball appeared on her hand, easily more than 5 meters in diameter, but saw that Isaiah was accelerating at them. Divide. Amaterasu could only watch as only the flame in her hand was halved. She didn't have enough to attack or defend properly. Boost. Isaiah stopped 10 meters in front of them and swung his sword at them. Zangetsu. Ho-ho-ho-ish. An air slash, much bigger than the one before, engulfed both gods, sending them flying backwards. And if that wasn't enough, the attack hit the castle as well, *ling more of the Shinto forces. He prepared himself once the two gods both started to fire at him again. Their clothes were ripped and they had small cuts over their bodies. Isaiah grinned as he saw that. If you aren't fighting dirty in a war, you are doing something wrong. I hope the others are doing better than me. Eat Tsukushima Shrine. This shrine was built for one of Suzanu's daughters. It was built in a way that when high tide comes and engulfs the beams, the entire shrine looks like it's floating on water. Tiamat was sitting on the torii gate, which was a bit further away and was also floating. The Dragon Empress just smiled as she felt the water shift. Suzan appeared from the sea as he stared at Tiamat. Why are you here? Suzanu asked carefully. Tiamat smiled. The same reason you are here. If you do not stop me here, I will just join the raid on Takamagahara. The god nodded at that. But why come here, to the place where my element is the strongest? Tiamat stood up, her aura blasting out from her. Both she and Suzanu created a barrier around them not to get the humans involved. A necklace appeared around her neck. In the middle was a deep blue water droplet. Next to it on the left and right were the symbol for chaos and karma. Because the sea is the perfect place for me to fight as well. Shall we, god of the storms? Suzanu closed his eyes. And when he opened them, they turned blue with tiny bolts of lightning coursing through them. The skies above them started to darken. Thunder and lightning soon followed as a giant storm appeared over them. Tiamat raised her hand as monsters started to appear. They were mostly draconic looking. But each was strong, durable, and annoying. The sea around her also shifted as a big leviathan made out of water formed behind her. This was infused with her divine energy, meaning Suzanu couldn't manipulate it without putting in a lot of effort. It was better to just destroy it instead since it took less energy. Let's, Suzanu answered her. Domain expansion. Both of them called out in their minds as they activated the domains they had control of. With this, the three strongest gods started to fight. But what about the rest of their army? Chapter 112, Feldera and Gasper fights. Feldera vs Takemikazuchi, god of lightning. Asterisk boom. Boom. Boom asterisk. Dragon and god were clashing wildly, ripping apart the surroundings. Lighting coursed through their bodies. Hadouken! 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 Feldera was spamming attacks at the god, who was slightly annoyed by now. Feldera fought in his dragon form. Usually, that would be a mistake. The god is stronger than him and being bigger makes him a bigger target. But this god uses lightning. Feldera's element. Even if he gets damaged, it won't be as bad. And due to his huge size, he can make things difficult for Takemikazuchi. Kamehameha. Feldera let out a huge beam of energy. The god frowned at Feldera as lighting coursed through the katana in his hands. He flashed and appeared in front of Feldera, slashing multiple times with his increased speed. White lines appeared on his scales. Some went deeper. But most of the lightning in those attacks was useless. Feldora raised his hand. Takemikazuchi pointed his palm at it, creating a beam of lightning that pushed it away, before Feldora could put any force in it. But then he felt himself get slammed from the side. He quickly turned his head to see what hit him. His tail. Feldora had smacked him to the side with his tail. Then a raising left fist came at the god. Shoryuken. Rising Dragon Fist. You call yourself a lighting god? Isaiah makes swords that produce stronger lighting. Feldora mocked the god. On the inside he was using his strength to get rid of the small bits of divine lightning coursing through his system. His lightning can't harm me too much, but damn if it ain't irritating, feels like ants crawling around my muscles and organs. Feldora charged. He knew that he wouldn't be able to beat this god with lightning control. So that left one thing. Pummel him with physical strength. He was a proud dragon. He won't stop until he rips apart his prey. Takemikazuchi used his overwhelming speed to keep slashing at Feldora. He kept slashing the same places, so he could cut through Feldora's hard scales and into his flesh. The battle continued on, with Feldora hitting the god every once in a while. But it was clear he was the one taking more damage. They had fought for a full 15 minutes already. Each minute they exchanged dozens upon dozens of blows. As they kept fighting, Takemikazuchi noticed an opening at Feldora's chest. He had pierced his scales there before and the flesh was exposed. Kenmura Takemikazuchi called out, as he became lighting. He was lighting personified and he just moved. Puchi. Takemikazuchi pierced the scales around his heart and pierced his flesh, but due to the heart being so far away, he used his lighting to extend his reach and attack Feldora's heart. I win. Takemikazuchi said merci Elsie. No, you didn't. Puchi. Claws vertically pierced through him. Feldora was standing behind him, charging up a roar. The Feldora clone started to speak, the original was speaking through him as a user of lighting. I am more than aware of the weaknesses. When you enter top speed your vision blurs a bit. The brain just can't process fast enough. So when I saw you enter your top speed I knew I had my chance. I created lighting around me to hide my surroundings and a clone in front of me. You might survive a lighting roar, but what about fire? Feldora's mouth was filled with flames. Buddhist. And just to make sure, he used his ace. And doubled his power, he directly roared out on the god trapped in his claws. Asterisk roar. Asterisk. The attack lasted a few seconds, leaving only a charred corpse. Ow, 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 hot, hot, hot. Feldora wildly swung his hand trying to cool it off. Stupid, so fucking stupid. To think that I, the storm dragon Feldora, would have to resort to cheap tricks. Ugh, why did I get him? Takemikazuchi and Susanoo completely counter me. Isaiah not cool man. Feldora just sighed and slumped as he turned into his human form. And stabbed the charred corpse with a sword. But this should make things worth it. Feldora smiled as he saw the sword start absorbing the fallen god's divinity. Rahahaha. This will make me the lightning dragon god Feldora-sama. It sounds weird. Storm dragon god Feldora? Feldora the storm dragon god. Omu. That sounds much better. I need to talk with the old hag. Maybe I can get Susanoo's storm domain from her. Feldora vs Takemikazuchi. Feldora won via a cheap shot. A/N I'm not happy with this fight. Feels weird. Gasper vs Kagatsuki. The god of fire and volcanoes. Boom boom boom. SWSHHHHH. How dare a mere vampire like you stand up to a god? Kagatsuki swung his sword, lava erupted from the ground and followed the direction of the sword slash. Keh. I'm a dumb per you moron. You can't even tell that? And what do you mean stand up? Gasper raised his hand and clenched it. A shadow claw came from the ground and crushed the lava strike. If you haven't noticed, I'm kicking your ass. Gasper was giddy. His opponent used fire and lava, basically creating light sources for him to use his shadows. He would have been in trouble if he fought Amaterasu. She could create more flames to completely light up the area. But Kagatsuki can't do that. I guess I should get serious. This will be the first time I have used it properly against an opponent. Forbidden Baylor View Drive, the Beast. The World XD. Shadows erupted from Gasper. They oozed out of him and started to condense behind him. The monster was easily 5 meters tall. It looked draconic in nature with multiple wings, 2 horns, and 4 red eyes. The air was shaking around the beast. Its shadows seemed to absorb everything around them. What is that, creature? Kagutsuka spat out. In his millennia of living, he has never seen anything like it. This is Baylor. Baylor, say hi to our friend. Gasper's eyes flashed and Kagutsuka was frozen in place. Gasper could only freeze people stronger than him for a split second. But that was more than enough and a very powerful ability in itself. Hutush * bank. *. Baylor appeared right in front of the god and punched him in the face, sending him flying backwards. *crack. Crack *. Gasper raised his hands and 2 giant shadow fists came out of the ground and slammed Kagutsuka in the middle. Damn you! The god set himself on fire, dispersing the shadows. Osh! Gasper's eyes flashed again, freezing him in place. Only for Baylor to strike the god again. This was just plain bullying. Hey, Kagutsuka yelled out as lots of tiny volcanoes appeared all around him. All of them pointed at Gasper. Who? *boom. Boom. 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 * eruptions happened all around Gasper. True, I can only freeze time on something I can see, but what if I do this? Gasper pulls out lust vein and creates a clone of himself. The clone then splits into bats and shares his vision with the original. Shhhhhhhhh. All of the lava beams were frozen in mid-air. Gasper was casually walking through them, leaning left and right, even going under one, as if he was mocking Kagutsuka, and he was. Is that the best you can do? Gasper raised an eyebrow. You flying rodent! I will show you what it means to be a god. Kagutsuka palmed his hands together. Domain expansion, Great Lava Coffin. I imagine these domain expansions more like Devil Fruit Awakening rather than creating a separate dimension for the domain. BTW magma is the more liquid part inside the volcano, while lava is the part that comes outside and has rocks and stuff in it. Gasper frowned when he saw the ground turning red. Tisk! Gasper quickly took to the sky. Just as the earth literally erupted. Magma and lava was flying out everywhere. Die! Kagutsuka flung his hands and hundreds of lava projectiles erupted from the ground. Thumb, 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 thumb. Gasper flew around freezing some while the beast destroyed the rest that got near him. So having a domain can be this useful. Then again, it is literally changing the environment to create a perfect battlefield for you. Meteor shower. Gasper glanced at the god as he kept shooting out attacks at the sky high above them. I see, he is trying to trap me. By attacking me from both the ground and the sky. I can't possibly stop all of the attacks. Looks like I need to get closer to him. Damn it, and I was really hoping to fight him with a stand. Gasper gave the beast a command. And it opened up, like a Iron Man suit. It was complete darkness inside the creature as it latched itself onto Gasper. Gasper now had all the strength and speed he would need. In a burst of speed he disappeared, only to reappear above his opponent. Die! Jojo! Gasper slammed into the god's face. Kagutsuka only thought was, who the hell is Jojo? Before he forced the thoughts away and refocused on the battle. His hands were glowing red. And he went and returned the favor by punching the beast in the face, pushing him backwards for a few meters. Kagutsuka kept throwing long-range attacks, trying to hit or tire out Gasper. But the time-stopping vampire just kept going. Gasper punched him through some buildings. Kagutsuka threw him into one and made a volcano erupt beneath it. This went back and forth. The domain kept spreading. But the ground was uneven from all the volcanoes. There were enough shadows created by the light from the lava to allow Gasper to fight in any way he wants. Gasper used the shadows to block the god from running away. He stabbed him with shadow weapons and kept annoying him with the bats and time stop. But it was clear that Kagutsuka was losing and he wasn't about to let that happen. He summons lava, and shoots lava beams at Gasper. But he doesn't stop. While he is inside his drive he gains tremendous strength and durability, along with being able to stop him for even 1 second. Was enough to completely dominate this fight. Buddhist. The words echoed in the surroundings. Hearing that the god knew he had ran out of time. He quickly kneed to the ground. Great eruption. The domain starting to shake. One giant volcano formed. Survive this. The volcano, shockwave, and ash clouds pulsed through the domain. Kagutsuka slammed his palms together as 2 lava hands picked up 2 buildings and slammed Gasper in the middle. The lava was coiling around him and cooling off. Trapped Gasper in his drive form. Mikio Kagutsuka called out as his arm started to glow red-hot. His entire arm looked like it was made out of magma that flowed below the earth. Asterisk Pucci. Asterisk. Kagutsuka pushed his hand through the beast's chest, completely burning everything his arm touched. You lost. And your friends will be joining you soon, he smiled maliciously as the shadows that made the beast started to disappear. Once the draconic head disappeared, Kagutsuka's eyes went wide as the inside of the armor was empty. Asterisk slash. Asterisk. Shadow swords pierced the god's back and went out through his chest. How? I was watching carefully. I had heard that you used tricks, Kagutsuka yelled at Gasper. I switched with a clone to enter the beast before you even used that great eruption of yours. Filling the space with ash clouds wasn't the smartest move. Those mini volcanoes produce just enough, and I stopped time to switch when you thought I was just attacking you. You also couldn't know where that boost came from. You assumed it was from the monster. But I actually used boost on the shadows. It's been fun, but I have work to do. Gasper clenched his hand and the shadows crushed the god's heart. He watched silently as the light faded from his eyes and his body fell forward and down on the ground. Gasper takes out the sword Isaiah gave him to take the god's divinity, but he stopped just before he even took the first step towards the god's corpse. He waved his hand and shadows decapitated his head and cut off his arms and legs. Seeing his work, Gasper nodded. I will not be making the same mistake as the great god Dio. I am one step closer to surpassing him. Ha 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 ha. Gasper laughed like a maniac in the midst of what could best be described as lava hell. And the damn fur was practicing his villain laugh, not knowing that a clone of Isaiah record everything. Love the last scene. Gasper won't replace Dio's mistakes. Chapter 113, Dominance over the Sea. Tiamat vs Susanoo. The sea. An endless source of life. Humans have relied on the sea for a constant source of food. That source of life was currently upside down, in the entire region around the shrine. The sea was floating towards the sky, and forming a dome-like shape. Inside the sea dome, Tiamat and Susanoo were rampaging. The inside of the dome was filled with whirlpools and currents. Water projectiles were being fired constantly. Explosions happening, disturbing the water even more. It was as if chaos had become water for this fight. Both Tiamat and Susanoo kept drawing water from the sea beneath them as they went further and further away from shore, with the dome following them while it got bigger and bigger. Each of them had their own divine energy which they used to control the water. Instead of a battle of strength, this was a battle of precision. How much strength to put in an attack, and how much strength to use to wrestle away the other's control over the sea. At first, Susanoo had the advantage. Tiamat is a newborn goddess after all. She has been manipulating water for less than a few months, while Susanoo has been doing it for millennia. The only reason why Tiamat got this far is from the memories and experience she gained from her mother, the dragon goddess Tiamat, the primordial goddess of the sea. She had even more experience than Susanoo. And Tiamat was slowly learning it all. At first, it was about 70/30ths in the amount of control that both of them could exert. Susanoo had a significant advantage. But bit by bit, Tiamat improved in real time. Her control over water increased. So much so that she was on the path to becoming Susanoo's equal. This fight, she was learning from him, gaining experience and understanding more and more of the memories of her mother. On the other hand, Susanoo was getting angrier by the minute. Impossible. She is gaining centuries of experience in minutes. This is impossible. Nobody can improve this fast. Is she sacrificing her life force for this knowledge? To sacrifice herself and take me down with her? No, I don't feel anything wrong with her. That means this change has only benefits. How can such a thing be possible? Summons a storm above the sea dome. He needs to push her back at land. He won't be able to use the sea, but he still has his domain over storms. A giant cyclone was approaching the sea straight at the dome, at very fast speeds. The cyclone had a diameter of 1,400 kilometers. Susanoo didn't even care about the people he was about to hit. He was determined to end Tiamat no matter the collateral damage. Tiamat saw the giant cyclone coming, so he has abandoned the sea. Quite the pathetic move coming from a sea god. I won't be able to stop that from moving me, but I won't make it easy for him. A pity, I was learning a lot. When can you say that you improved centuries worth of experience in minutes? I got about 100 years for every 3 minutes or so. The cyclone hit the dome, causing the water to burst apart. The moment it did so, Susanoo released his control over all the water. That was when Tiamat made her move. She shifted into her dragon form and used a lot of power to gather all the water in front of her mouth and started compressing it while adding her own draconic energy. Draconic God's Roar. A giant beam of water shot at Susanoo, who was not expecting that attack. The attack hit him head-on, but due to Tiamat's large size, the cyclone hit her in the back, damaging her crazy durable scales. Fucking crazy bitch! Susanoo got up from the crater to look at Tiamat's crazy grin as she was bringing in a tsunami in front of her and a cyclone behind her. Why is she wasting so much energy on illogical attacks? No matter, I will end it now. Now that Susanoo had dragged Tiamat back on land, he brings out the sword that made him famous. The sword that he had gained by slaying Yamata no Orokai. The Kusanagi no Tsurugi sword. A holy sword of the Shinto pantheon. Due to having a piece of Orokai sealed in it, it was more like a sacred gear. Orokai's poison was in the sword, and the user could also summon the heads of Yamata no Orokai. They can attack and breathe fire, and regenerate after they are destroyed. A poisonous holy sword with God Slayer capabilities. A very powerful sword. Once Tiamat saw it, her eyes shined for a bit. That would be a good gift to Isaiah. He just loves to collect the holy swords of the world. Kusanagi Susanoo yelled out. The sword buzzed as 8 giant snake heads came out of the sword. Tiamat scoffed. You want to use Orokai's power to deal with me? Even when I was a dragon king I was stronger than him. And he wants to use a piece of Orokai's soul stuck in a sword to deal with me? Especially now? How insulting! Susanoo attacked with the sword. Tiamat just grabbed the snake heads, and instead of breaking them, she put water spheres around them. Like I'm stupid enough to let them regenerate. Let them drown over and over again. Susanoo tried to wrestle the control of the water spheres from Tiamat, but it wasn't working. How much energy did she put in these things? While the snakes were drowning, Tiamat started to tie them up like knots. Stupid snake! Seeing that calling on the spirit of Orokai wasn't doing him any good, Susanoo dismissed the snakeheads and called upon his divine energy. He was an accomplished swordsman himself. He coated the sword with his energy and rushed at Tiamat. He started to slash and dash around her. His sword caused slash marks on her scales. But Tiamat didn't just let him do as he wished. Her body ignited in blue flames. But that wasn't all. Tiamat used her blood and flames to create monsters. Monsters that were resistant to storms. She sent out hundreds of them to attack Susanoo. You think that's enough to stop me? Susanoo yelled out, scoffing at the idea that these monsters might do anything to him despite them being immune to his storm attacks. Susanoo was easily disposing of the monsters. Ha, stupid bitch! Waste more of your energy. I can do this all day. He was completely sure of his victory. But he didn't even notice. After destroying each monster, Tiamat took a little bit of damage. She had linked herself to the monsters. Susanoo assumed that he caused all the damage on Tiamat with his cyclone attack and sword slashes. Tiamat was firing fire breaths at the god, but what she was really doing was charging up her karma. A little more, and I will have enough. A few minutes later, Susanoo destroyed over 1,000 monsters. But he was tired and breathing deeply. Tiamat didn't just stick to one type of monster like most users of Annihilation Maker. She creates different types, each with their own power. Many of them exploded or caused a poison cloud to be released when Susanoo *LLED them. His clothes were ruined, he was tired and was in an extremely bad mood. He was getting a report from the gods that were still alive in Takamagahara. The situation was not good. He needed to finish Tiamat off quickly. And if possible capture her to use her as a hostage. She is a draconic goddess after all. She shouldn't die that easily. Fall down already! Susanoo rushed at Tiamat, his sword shining brightly as he was getting energy from the huge storm above them. Everything was perfect. Tiamat was far away from her sea domain. That affected him as well, but he was still gaining power from the storm. He had done plenty of damage with the God Slayer sword and drained her of her energy by defeating her monsters. He was the winner. He slashed downwards, but at that moment Tiamat quickly raised her fist, engulfed in a bright golden flame. The flame was so big that it even went to her elbow. Karma strike! Tiamat roared out as she let out a devastating punch. The fist and the sword clashed. What? Susanoo was surprised but quickly grabbed the sword with both hands. Take back all of the pain you have inflicted at me. Her flames roared out, engulfing Susanoo as her punch pushed further and further. The energy in the sword dimmed. No. It can't be. I am Susanoo no Mikoto. God of the storms and seas. The third strongest god in Japan. I can't lose to some dragon. Stop whining and die like a man. Tiamat opened her mouth and channeled all of her power into her chaos domain. She unleashed a breath of pure chaotic energy. A red and black beam engulfed Susanoo. Ah! He was blasted backward as the golden flames and chaotic energy burned through his body. His divine energy couldn't stop it. In a few seconds, all that was left was a charred corpse. Barely holding itself together. Tiamat let out a sigh. I'm tired of fighting these gods. But I can't say it wasn't worth it, my control over water has increased so much. But I'd better get ready for a few decades of just refining what I have before trying to increase any more of my water control. Now I need to go back to Nexus and take a nice bath while the sword extracts this guy's divinity. Tiamat used magic to make sure the corpse didn't fall apart and teleport herself back to HQ. Susanoo, god of the seas and storms. Defeated. Isaiah was getting pushed back by the two gods. But the smile on his face never left. This infuriated Amaterasu and Tsukuyomi. They both had cool heads, but they couldn't help but feel anger in this situation. A child was facing both of them alone. And he was holding his own. If anybody found out about this, the humiliation would be insufferable. He was facing the two strongest gods in the Shinto pantheon. And he was only losing slightly. He was maneuvering the gods exactly where he wanted them. The sun and the moon are opposites. It's like using fire and ice attacks at once. Without proper timing and synchronization, the attacks would cancel each other out. He has divide and never has to worry about losing energy. Every 10 seconds he regains some energy or just divides the attack of an opponent. He timed it so lacerate and divide are 5 seconds apart. Each has a 10-second pause between attacks. So he uses lacerate and causes a debuff on one of the gods. Waits 5 seconds then uses divide on one of them. 5 seconds later he uses lacerate again. This was just pure bullying. He also uses clones. His clones could not reach the same level as him, but they were useful in distracting the two gods by using suicide attacks. And then there was the Overblade. For others, he could only create one boost. But for himself, he could use a lot more. Lacerate. A gash appeared right above Tsukuyomi's eye. Lacerate was completely random where it would hit. When Isaiah saw where it appeared he directly used boost to increase his speed. Along with an accelerate blade on himself. SHHHHHH. Brother. Amaterasu yelled out as she rushed towards him as well, but she couldn't match Isaiah's speed. Tsukuyomi tried to defend himself, but all he saw was Isaiah's grin before the pain started. Dozens and dozens of times he was slashed by an invisible blade. Boom! Isaiah was blasted backward by Amaterasu. Brother. She quickly went to his side and tried to heal him, but found out that she couldn't. Something in the wounds was preventing her from doing so. Bastard! She turned to Isaiah, who was smiling as took off his ruined shirt. He didn't even bother to defend. His scales were hard enough to make sure he wasn't K*LLED instantly. What's wrong? Feeling regret yet? Remember you attacked us first. And even the two of you at once can't handle me alone. A big part of that is that if you unleashed your power at your maximum you would K*LL all the remaining gods here. I will admit that much. But how would you handle it if I wasn't fighting alone? Bzzzzzzzzz. Roar. A giant 9-tailed fox appeared through the portal Isaiah created. His very presence shook the realm. He was blasting his sage aura at its fullest. The golden spots on his fur shined brightly. Kurama, the leader of the yokai, the fox sage, and Isaiah's right hand has appeared. Chapter 114, Spoiler Title. Opinion on the fight scene. Please. I rewrote that thing like 6 times. It's been like a week and a half since I was stuck on this chapter. Please tell me what you think about the fight. Is it bad? Should I rewrite it? And if so, what can be changed? Kurama had arrived to aid Isaiah. The rest of Nexus was cleaning up the battlefields. Various gods and shrines across Japan were either captured or destroyed. Susanoo, one of the big 3, was K*LLED by Tiamat. The 5 clans were neutralized and their sacred beasts captured. The Shinto pantheon was done for. Even if Amaterasu and Tsukuyomi survived, They wouldn't be able to rebuild. Hurry up! Gather the prisoners. We have to get this done before the generals come back. The army of Nexus was running left and right, getting things under control. But there were large smiles on their faces. They had done it. Nexus has taken over Japan. The only thing that was left was defeating the top gods from the Shinto pantheon. And they had absolute trust that their leader would succeed. Isaiah was the man who created this organization. A paradise, formed in such a cruel world. Different races living together in peace. Tiamat-sama has returned. Dino-sama as well. Well, what are you standing here for? Go welcome them. Hi Capitan. This was happening all over Japan. The army was busy containing every piece of captured territory or prisoner. It was actually stretching them thin. The generals have deployed as many clones as they can to a certain level of strength to go across Japan. But their original bodies were going back to HQ. With Isaiah's new swords, they could switch with any clone instantaneously. They were expecting someone to come and attack them now that all of the fights are over and they were tired. This way they can travel in groups to the location that was attacked by switching with one clone. It's too quiet, Ross Weiss said as she was looking at a big screen. On it was the entire territory of Japan. They have hijacked the Shinto pantheon's wards and added their own. Hers and Meredith's clones were working in overtime. Both of them were exhausted. Creating even a basic ward scheme over that large of a territory and rewriting existing wards has drained both of them. Nobody is coming. Meredith raised an eyebrow. No, it's more likely that they will go and attack Isaiah rather than us. After all, he is the biggest threat, Riser said as he was resting. He was still not recovered from his clash with the former and current Satan Leviathan. He took some serious damage that needed to be regenerated, leaving him exhausted for the next few days. That does make sense. Feldera walked into the room. Fools, then they are going to come all this way to die. Senpai dissected them. Bats appeared in the room from the shadows and formed a tall muscular blonde man. Feldera clicked his tongue. Show off. And how is Gasper putting on that much muscle mass? Is he using steroids? Feldera wondered. Gasper caught that and smirked. I'm in puberty, do you think I would ruin my body with steroids? This body is a fucking temple. Gasper pointed at his muscles. Hi. You two can argue about your looks later. Now we need to get to work. Ross Weiss turned to the two of them. Both of them turned to each other. Smash Brothers tournament later. They nodded, making an agreement without ever saying a word before they left the room. Weirdos. Rose shook her head at their antics. Riser sweat dropped. Rose-san. I don't think you have the right to say anything. Especially with your love of 100 yen shops. Tiamat entered the room. Why did I just see Feldera and Gasper running at full strength in the same direction? No comment. Back on Takamagahara. Kurama, it took you a while to get here. Isaiah smirked as he saw both gods frown. Oh shut it, it's not like you didn't have things under control here. Oh, and we are almost done. Susanoo has fallen. What? Amaterasu and Tsukuyomi yelled out, just as the realm shook. Susanoo's shrines started to fall apart. Those shrines were their respawn point in a way. If they were ever K*LLED, they would be reborn there. But if a shrine falls apart, that means the god is permanently dead. Ha, didn't you notice this when we were fighting? Isaiah mocked them for not noticing that their brother had died. But in reality, they couldn't lose focus. Not against someone like Isaiah. He is the type of guy who will abuse any opening he will see. Roar! X4. Reinforcements have arrived. Hades had sent the dragons. Ah, the scum of the dragon race have arrived. How does it feel to be someone's lapdog? Isaiah smirked at the dragons. Apophis, Labdon, Grendel, Aida. The four evil dragons that just days before attacked the alliance meeting. Who are you calling a lapdog, you runt? Aida and Grendel roared out. Can't a dragon get some rest? Apophis sighed out. Seriously, let a guy get some sleep, Labdon agreed. It was ironic since he was called the Insomniac Dragon. He had been forced to spend a lot of time staying awake protecting the golden apples of Hesperides before he was K*LLED by Heracles. Now he just wants to get some well-deserved sleep to make up for lost time. You are an embarrassment, Apophis. We dragons are made to fight and K*LL. Grendel yelled out, showing his psychotic personality. He was truly only interested in fighting and K*ling. Even by dragon standards he was unnatural. It was a dragon's instinct to find a lair and find a suitable mate. You are too eager, Grendel, but I do agree on the K*ling part. Aida smiled maliciously with his 3 heads. Amaterasu suddenly smiled. It took you long enough to get here. Mother. A greenish-black portal appeared. A tall pale woman with long black hair appeared. Izanami, the goddess of death and the mother of Amaterasu and Tsukuyomi, had also arrived to fight. Sorry. I was preoccupied. The death goddess frowned. No matter. Now we can finally get rid of this thorn from our side. Tsukuyomi looked at Isaiah and Kurama with a look of superiority. Us 2 against 4 dragons and 3 gods. I like those odds. They need the handicap. Isaiah chuckled as he and Kurama went back to back. Well, only Amaterasu, and Aida can be said to be around transcended class. The rest are all high ultimate. Kurama replies back. As I said, I like those odds. Isaiah smirked before flicking his wrists. He who strikes first wins. SHHHHHH. Slashes, hundreds of them were sent flying at the dragons. Labdin activated his barriers and Aida teleported away. The other 2 got hit head on. Hey! Grendel roared as he defended himself. Oi! Protect and teleport us too. Apophis was pissed off. Why do I even bother with these savages? On the other side, seeing that Isaiah attacked the dragons, the 3 Shinto gods immediately attacked. Amaterasu turned her flames into sparrows that flew at Isaiah and Kurama. Tsukuyomi gathered his hands and beams of white energy shot out and Izanami unleashed a death wave. Inside the wave were sickly black hair strands. One touch and you will rot away. You underestimate me too much. Kurama's form shifted. He was no longer in his fox or human form. Now he was 10 meters tall. He had forced himself to take on a hybrid form. He was a humanoid fox with 9 tails behind him. This is the ability he gained as the fox god as well as divine energy. Golden key and divine energy twisted in his right hand. The nature key of Takamagahara, the key of this realm, was rushing to him. Watching this spectacle, Amaterasu realized whose power this was. Inari. Re-a-a-a-a-a. Kurama slammed his palm forward. Space cracked as a golden shockwave spread, pushing against all 3 attacks before they all cancelled each other out. Nice. I see you reached it. Isaiah smirked at Kurama. With Inari's divine domain, Kurama pushed himself to solid transcended class. Yet. Sorry for the wait. Kurama smirked back before turning to the Shinto gods. Oi, do you know what we foxes are god at? The Shinto gods glared at him. Petty tricks. Amaterasu scoffed, but Kurama just smiled exactly. Asterisk SHHH. 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 SHHH, asterisk. Dozens of clones appeared around the dragons and gods. Do you think these clones are real or not? Kurama pointed his claws at them as they started to glow. Filled with sage ki and divine energy. But each of the clones followed and gave off the exact same feeling. Nobody could tell if they were real or not. Not even Isaiah, as he whistled as he saw them. Not bad. But let's make this even more interesting. Isaiah closed his eyes, as energy surged from within. A black-red aura engulfed him as he started to grow. But he did not enter his dragon form. He, like Kurama, chose a smaller one. Isaiah's hybrid form was only 5 meters tall. A humanoid dragon Lustvein, he called out, his voice deep and sharp. Asterisk SHHH. 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 SHHH, asterisk. Clones of Isaiah also appeared. Each of them carrying a different type of katana and tattoos across their bodies. Kurama, your illusions could hold things if I remember correctly. Isaiah smirked as Kurama's eyes widened before he burst out in laughter. You want to do this now? Ha 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 ha. Isaiah said nothing but waved his hand. A small dagger appeared on the wrist of each Kurama clone and tied itself around it. Let's start this, shall we? Isaiah's clones raised their katanas in front of themselves. Whoosh! You think we are just going to let you do as you please? Grendel flew at the nearest Kurama clone. The other dragons and gods also attacked. Apophis used his primordial water to attack. Aida used elemental magic to attack. He made the projectiles scatter so that they hit each clone. To see which was an illusion and which was real. Bankai. The clones erupted with power as the katana's forms changed. A few of them quickly threw their swords in the air. Asterisk Butum. Butum. Butum, asterisk. The swords exploded and sent hundreds of marked daggers around the area. Just as Grendel was about to attack one of Kurama's clones. Clap! Whoosh! Yo! Isaiah switched with the clone and smirked at Grendel, who was punching the area above Isaiah. He completely missed due to the size difference between Isaiah and Kurama. Isaiah was 5 meters tall while Kurama was 10. Shit! Grendel tried to force his arm to go downwards. But Isaiah was faster. He jumped and put his palm on Grendel's scales around his diaphragm. Asterisk slash. 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 Slash asterisk. Grendel roared out in pain as the slashes cut deep into his skin, tearing some muscles. Lacerate. Slash. A cut appeared on Landon's arm and the dragon felt his weight triple. Bullshit. Landon roared out. He was the insomniac dragon, his barriers were practically impenetrable. Ryujin Jakuzang ka no Tachi, South Isaiah's clone called out, and the ground cracked apart as corpses came out. These were all of the emeries slayed by Isaiah. You dare use necromancy against me? Izanami screeched out, this was as humiliating as it was going to get for a death god. Minajiki blood sea. Shhuu. The ground beneath them instantly flooded with blood. The clone simply dived down, so that he couldn't be attacked. That clone had only one purpose. To maintain the blood sea and mess with the ki of the enemies. He was directly linked to the real Isaiah and continually received mana. The skeletons got dosed in the blood sea, giving them a terrifying look as well as an interesting effect. A curse, as long as a single one touches you they will drain the life out of you and give it to the blood sea. Isaiah purposely spread these skeletons everywhere. Mostly to the minor servants and extremely weak gods hiding behind the Shinto gods. Basically they were a distraction, like unleashing a sea of ants at the enemy. They can leave them be or waste time destroying them. Isaiah was pulling every dirty trick in the book. Asterisk clap. Clap asterisk. Slash, slash. 2 more switches and 2 more slash marks. What's is this? Tsukuyomi looked at the cut on his forearm. What kind of a swordsman throws his katana? The sword is called Murasame, the clone answered. Clap. And suddenly Kurama switched with the clone and roared out his special fox fire. Boost. The fox fire doubled as it flew at Tsukuyomi. Using flames in front of me, Amaterasu scoffed as she used her own black flames to counter the fox fire. Isaiah dashed at Apophis, who shaped his primordial water into a barrier combined with his darkness manipulation dark field barrier. The clone switched with another Bankai. Kananbairiki Benihai Maratum. A giant woman with long black hair, wearing a red robe appeared behind Isaiah, but on a second glance it was a giant puppet. The puppet's hands touched the corrosive water. Only for the water to harmlessly splash down to the ground. What? Apophis yelled out as he raised his wings, determined to retreat. Asterisk clap. Clap. Asterisk. Isaiah and Kurama appeared right in front of him. Buddhist Wabisuk. Isaiah doubled his speed and slashed many times at Apophis. Tripling his weight each time. Making him fall downward where Kurama was waiting. With his hands cloaked in extremely dense energy. He was quite literally draining Takamagahara of its natural energy. Asterisk boom. Crack asterisk. Grendel's scales cracked under the force of Kurama's swing. Divide. Isaiah divided Grendel's defenses and hit an unlucky Labdon with a lacerate, twice in a row. Asterisk boom. 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 Kurama kept punching from below and Isaiah kept using his slashes from above. Swish. Ai da teleported Grendel away. Grendel wasn't the only one who was receiving this treatment. Isaiah and Kurama used this over and over again. Especially on the dragons. The only ones who were better off were the Shinto trio as they fought from a distance. But the clones were also suffering. They also kept getting destroyed, forcing Isaiah and Kurama to use more power to create more. Not to mention all of the Bankais Isaiah has used. Both of them however were recovering their mana. Through ki absorption and divide. Isaiah and the clones flung their arms. Asterisk SHH. 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 Asterisk. Hundreds of slashes flew through space, cutting anything in their way. But most of them were blocked or dodged. This kept going on for 10 minutes straight. Kurama and Isaiah jumping on one opponent, doing as much damage until they were blasted away. The clones debuting the enemies as much as possible. Using poison, obstacles, and even rushing in and exploding themselves. Safe to say that the enemies were sick of it. AI Dao was studying the way they were teleporting and waited for one of them to be ganged up again. This time it was Izanami. He was 70% sure that was the real Isaiah attacking. Space-time magic. Twilight Zone. The three-headed dragon roared out as a eclipse-shaped bubble engulfed Isaiah. Hurry up! My barrier will slow down time and trap him in an illusionary world based on his desires. He probably thinks he is still fighting us. This was their moment. All of the dragons prepared to roar as the gods fired their attacks. Kurama just smirked. Idiots, they underestimate Isaiah too much. Time dilation? We have someone that can stop time. As their attacks neared the prison, Isaiah's eyes regained their clarity and he smirked. He vertically chopped with his hand and just spread his wings and flew away. He cut through the sealed space. The three-headed dragon was visibly shocked that his seal barely impeded Isaiah at all. They were all getting frustrated. It was 7 versus 2 and they were pretty much tied. Until this moment. As soon as Isaiah rushed out of the prison, Grendel appeared in front of him. Isaiah raised his hands to unleash his slashes but his body froze in mid-air. Grendel lands a strong punch at Isaiah, cracking his scales even more and sending him flying, drawing quite a lot blood. Isaiah couldn't defend himself. Once he finished rolling, Isaiah tried to stand up but he falls down on one knee. What's wrong? Was that hit a bit too heavy for you? Grendel gleefully said, as if to pay some of the humiliation back. Going down after one punch? Pathetic. AI also mocked Isaiah. He had suffered a lot. Isaiah and Kurama must be tired by now. Rahaha. AI, looks like your seal worked after all. Labdin joined in. Apophis just kept quiet. Something was wrong. The dragons continued to mock them but Isaiah just ignored them. He was focusing on something much more important. Kurama ran towards Isaiah, thinking something terrible had happened. Kurama. The fox sage froze at Isaiah's tone. He had never spoken to him like this. Isaiah's face was flushed as he grimaced in pain. Too much pain for it to only be from the attack. But despite being in pain, Isaiah had this insane look on his face. It was at that moment that Kurama used his sage powers to probe what was wrong with Isaiah. What he found made him shiver to his bones. Without even thinking, he started to back away. Run! Isaiah's voice reached his ears. Nexus. Full retreat. Kurama dashed to army. Move it. If any of you want to see the light of day again, I suggest you run. The enemy watched in surprise at this unexpected show of cowardice before turning to Isaiah as they felt his power rising. Yep, just as I expected. He grits his teeth in pain. This has got to be one of the stupidest things I have ever done. I agree. Albion's voice sounded in his head. Isaiah. You are the most insane person I have met in my millennia of existence. Another voice made itself known, causing Albion to chuckle. I have been telling him that since he put the divine dividing in his soul. Welcome to the party. Drag. Isaiah raised his head and started to laugh. A creepy, insane laugh. Causing the gods and dragons to shiver. Something was terribly wrong. Let's end this, shall we? Isaiah roared out. White metallic wings spread behind his back and a red gauntlet appeared on his right hand. Boost. 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 Divide. 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 Impossible. Amaterasu yelled out. Attack him. Hurry. Izanami called upon her powers as a death god. But it was too late. They could only watch as Isaiah clasped his hands together. Domain expansion, Great Malevolent Shrine. A/N. Obviously the title is Great Malevolent Shrine XD. Chapter 115, Hidden Title. Domain expansion, Great Malevolent Shrine. Boom. In a single second, thousands and thousands of slashes engulfed the area. Due to Isaiah boosting and stealing the power from the gods and dragons, the domain's range increased to 2 kilometers. Both the dragons and gods yelled out in pain as they used their power to defend themselves as much as they can. Grendel's proud body was getting dissected. his scales cracking and his flesh being slashed apart. All of the others were in the same position. Even with them covering themselves with their powers, and blocking some of the attacks, the slashes were still getting through. All of them were covered in their own blood. The earth around them was getting disintegrated as well as anything alive or dead on it. The water, the clouds, the trees, and animals. All of it turned into a cloud of dust or blood. Growling. AI used most of his power to teleport all the dragons to be near the gods. Create a barrier. He yelled out in pain. He felt as if he was being cut apart, piece by piece, scale by scale. Ray. Labdin roared out as a barrier covered all of them. *CRRR. CRRR. 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 CRRR, asterisk. It started to receive attacks before it was even fully created. When the barrier was formed, half of it was already falling apart. But it bought enough time for each person to add their own barrier or their power to existing barriers. Isaiah saw what they were trying to do. Next they were going to open their domains in a defensive manner and try to outlast them. But unknowingly to them, they had done exactly what he wanted. Isaiah took a deep breath. I am the bone of my sword. Steel is my body, fire is my blood. No. Stop him. Don't let him finish. Amaterasu released the power she was feeding into the barrier and used it to create a giant black fire arrow that practically exploded the moment it was formed. Isaiah's domain cut it to microscopic levels, destabilizing its form. I have created over 1,000 blades. Unknown to death, nor known to life. What do you want us to do? It's time to leave. Get us out of here. Apophyse grit out as his dark field barrier was continuing to crack. I laugh at the world and pursue the peak. I shall become the sword that severs all. I am not leaving my land. Amaterasu yelled back at her reinforcements. This is our realm. Tsukuyomi agreed with her. And destroy you in a world of infinite swords. Then you can die in it. Aida roared out to them as he was preparing to get away. Unlimited blade works. As soon as Isaiah called out, a giant white portal appeared behind him. Come. Sword of Rupture. He raised his hands as all of the swords in his domain shook, and their collective souls formed a Jinnermao's sword. The blade itself and the tip of the sword, that spun in a spiral shape, are dull. It has the shape of a cylindrical, drill-shaped pillar made up of 3 independently rotating segments engraved with crimson cuneiform lettering that spin slowly in an alternating direction. The middle segment spinning clockwise and the top and bottom segments spinning counterclockwise. Each of the segments represents the heavens, the earth, and the underworld. Isaiah also pointed at the enemies who were holed up in the barrier. Fire. WSHHHHHHHHX7. 7 rusty long swords launched and flew at insane speeds. Hold. Labdin increased the strength at the front of the barrier, but the swords just passed through the barrier, and pierced into each god and dragon, who looked in shock at the barrier as there were 7 small tears in it. It wasn't so much as cut as it was slipped through. They quickly tired to take out the swords when they felt their magic get cut from them. And their barrier fell apart. This is anti-magic. EA. Get ready to sing. Isaiah was holding the humongous sword and pointing it right at the group. Bzzzzzzzzzzz. The sections on the sword started to spin. I will tell you of the beginning. Heaven and earth split. Nothingness congratulated creation. And my sword of rupture cleaved the world. Bzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzzz amounts of energy that it was draining from Isaiah. And his domain actually attacked faster. The barrier they had put up was cracking more and more. Ai da! I'm working on it, woman. The dragon roared back, the space around them was an absolute mess. He couldn't make a safe passage to get away. Labdin. Not a chance, Grendel, the dragon said with a smirk. Hat. So we die today. Well, at least I died in a glorious battle. What are you two taking about? Focus on the barrier. Tsukuyomi gritted his teeth. Unlike some of the dragons who were resurrected, he had no plans on dying yet. Mortar of the stars. Heaven's hell is the eve of creation's celebration. Now die and be silent. A sun appeared at the tip of the sword and started to spin and grow. Soon a Jinamao's orb of fire was pointing at the group. Isaiah narrowed his eyes as he called out. Enuma Elish. The giant sun exploded into a reddish-black beam, that completely engulfed the entire group. The beam engulfed them and didn't stop. It pierced Takamagahara and kept on going until it exited the other side of the realm. There was a 300-meter hole going from the top to the bottom of the realm. Crack K. The earth started to crack. The realm was falling apart. The island in the clouds was crumbling. Gah! Isaiah fell down on his knees. Ripper he stabbed himself with 2 swords and slowly pulled out divine dividing and the boosted gear. He barely connected the boosted gear to his soul, which was now extremely strained, by housing 3 Longinus-class sacred gears. That was extremely stupid, Isaiah thought to himself as he pulled out the 2 Longinuses. At that moment Valerie quickly appeared near Isaiah. And she was pissed. Valerie quickly kneeled down and started to heal him. If you weren't so injured I would have smacked the recklessness out of you. Isaiah chuckled, then grimaced because of the pain. Good thing I am injured. Then he smiled and pulled her down for a kiss. After they separated, Valerie gave him a gentle smile. We won. Yes, we did. Japan is ours. Now we just focus on defending and stabilizing our position. Let the rest of the factions fight each other. You got that right. Kurama landed near them. I thought I was going to die there for a minute. Can you warn a guy before doing something insane like that? Kurama used his powers to create a platform beneath them and floated it up in the air. I did say run, Isaiah grimaced. Kurama smirked at that. Let's go home, our troops are already retreating, and this place isn't going to last any longer. Valerie, can you patch me up faster? Isaiah's comments made tick marks appear on her forehead. You are bleeding all over the place and your soul looks like it's been through a tug of war. Why do you want to heal faster? Got somewhere to be? Of course he does. He still needs to announce the end of this whole thing. He can't do that while looking like this. Kurama pointed at Isaiah's state, causing Valerie to sigh. She also knew how important it is. I can patch you up, so let's hurry back to the HQ and get you cleaned up. Kurama clapped his hands and a teleportation circle appeared beneath them. Let's go home, the fox sage said with a big smile. Hush! A golden-orange light engulfed them and they were gone, leaving behind a realm that has existed for thousands of years, as it slowly crumbled into nothingness. The few beings that survived at the edge of the realm looked with despair in their eyes. Takamagahara is crumbling and the Shinto pantheon was gone. Soon this news would spread across the world, shocking each and every person. Nexus was now a real world-class power, with the territory to prove it. Mount Meru. Indra was gritting his teeth as his hand was going through a rather unstable portal. With a loud yell he pulled out his hand back, and pulled out a burning body. It was extremely blackened and so was his entire arm. Damn, that hurts, he gritted his teeth. Gah! Ha! 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 The person was barely alive, the arms and legs were burned off. You owe me, Amaterasu. Do you know how much power I used to save you? I had to precisely divinate the location you were stuck at and only managed to open a tiny portal to grab you and pull you through. Even for me, seeing a precise location in the future was extremely difficult. Indra sat down. He was exhausted. He had to find the precise location and open a portal at that exact point. A portal inside a space that was constantly being shredded by Isaiah's domain. Amaterasu couldn't even reply, she just passed out. Indra sighed. Things were not looking good for them. Nexus just had a major victory. The entire territory of Japan was theirs. The Shinto pantheon was extinct. Truthfully, he even contemplated K*ling Amaterasu now. But it was better to let her live, for now. Depending on the situation, they might just K*ll her and offer her head to Nexus as a peace offering. Sigh. Things just got a lot more complicated. And damn that Poseidon. The fool just had to rape Rias Gregory. Now Hades is stalling Lucifer and stopping him from K*ling the fool. What a terrible situation to be in. Indra stood up and started to walk. He was going to ask one of his fellow gods to help him heal the injury. Even with his power, it was impossible to heal something like this alone. The chaotic energy in his arm kept ripping the cells apart. He had used his divine energy to stop it from spreading. Shiva is going to love this. Indra clicked his tongue. Speaking of gods of destruction, I wonder how Hades is faring against Lucifer. Chapter 116, Japan in lockdown. Underworld. Boom. 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 Surtsk's in his true form was literally rampaging in Hades's realm. Everything that approached him was destroyed. Lucifer. Hades yelled out as he attacked Xerxes. There is a reason why Hades is in the top 10 strongest and not Zeus. Hades is special even among other death gods, he has the ability to attack the soul directly. If you are not strong enough, you can't defend yourself against his attacks. Are the devils trying to start a war with Olympus? The skeleton yelled out. War! Xerxes roared. Your brother raped my sister. Poseidon, damn you and your habit of thinking with your D*K. Hades cursed on the inside. That fool better come out quick. And just on time Poseidon arrived from the palace of Hades, where he was being healed. Brother! I need your permission. Poseidon called out. Hades knew what he was asking. He was asking to use the water of the river Styx. The river where the souls of the underworld. I grant Poseidon permission to use his domain here. Hades called out, and almost right away Poseidon took some of the water from river Styx to battle Xerxes. Xerxes quite literally saw red when Poseidon arrived. There is no force on this earth that will stop me from *ling you. Try it if you can. Poseidon glared at the Mu. When he was alone he could only run away. Now when the numbers are on his side, he was feeling a lot more confident about fighting Xerxes. Poseidon! Stop goading him! Hades said telepathically to his brother. We can take him, Hades. Poseidon replied. You fool! You just had to rape the girl, even after I specifically told you to leave her alone. You and Zeus are a pair of pathetic rapists, who couldn't seduce a woman with all the love potions in the world. Hades yelled out angrily. Just as Poseidon was about to reply back, he had to defend himself as Xerxes went straight at him, completely ignoring all of the other threats. He had one goal in his mind. To completely obliterate Poseidon from the face of the earth. And nothing was going to stand in his way. Nexus HQ. Asia and Valerie patching up Isaiah. Did you smack him? Asia asked as her hands glowed green. Valerie, who was next to her side, sadly not. He was too injured. Asia nodded. Well, he will be healthy enough in a few seconds. I'm still awake, you know. Isaiah said with his eye twitching as he watched them heal his wounds. Oh, we know. And there Asia let out a sigh. The next second. Smack, smack. Two hands slapped Isaiah on the back of the head. Ow, come on, Isaiah winced. They didn't hold back with that. But it was still well deserved. Maybe you shouldn't do something so stupid again. Tiamat stood up from her seat. Didn't want to drag out the fight. Isaiah smirked at her. You want to smack me too? Tiamat smiled and leaned down to kiss him. Nope, let's just say now that we have our leer I'm feeling very hot. She looked at him with lust in her eyes. Hey! Get in line. Kurama joined the fight. I want some dragon kittens too. I was here first. Valerie stood her ground. I met him first. Asia wasn't about to lose. The woman started to argue and the men wisely exited the room. Only Isaiah was laying down to conserve energy. Well, guess it's time to go. Isaiah struggled to get up. Where do you think you are going? The women turned towards him with a glare. We can talk about this later. Time to notify the world. Then we can deal with the rest. Isaiah slowly made his way to the table to get a drink. Call Gasper. He excels at these sort of things. We need this transmitted across the supernatural world. Already on it, senpai. Gasper's now deeper voice spoke up from the shadows. There was a single bat hanging from the ceiling. Say what you want about Gasper and his hobbies. He works fast when needed. And for God's sake, make the background look good. Isaiah grimaced. This has to be good, otherwise they will turn out to be a joke in the end. This is going worldwide. Of course. Do you doubt my *LLS? Now do you want a godfather chair or a king's throne? Hey, maybe we can even put a small sun behind you to piss off the church. We are doomed. Isaiah sighed and just let Gasper did as he pleased. He had zero energy to deal with this kind of bullshit. Valerie, please control your kid brother. Valerie just gave him a smirk as she went and kissed him. No promises. With it she left the room to go look after Gasper. But not before adding a little more sway to her hips. Vixen. Isaiah smirked slightly. After a few hours Gasper had the whole room set up. A big intimidating throne made out of swords. Lots of lighting in the room. And a dark red, shadowy background. Which Gasper was doing with his powers. ANDD action. Gasper snapped the action prop. Isaiah looked at the camera. He was dressed better than what he usually wears and he had a cold and composed expression on his face. Greetings, I am Isaiah. The leader of Nexus. Some of you may know me as the demonic blade dragon. Honestly, he needs a better title. As you can already tell, we are forcibly spreading this message around the world. You most likely know that there has been quite a ruckus lately. A faction of evil dragons, gods, and evil gods have attacked the Biblical Alliance and Nexus. They have also tried to pit us against the Devil faction. Well, as of today, the Shinto pantheon along with Labdon, Apophis, Grendel, and Aida, no longer exist. Nexus has completely wiped them out. We rule Japan now. And as of now, any attempt to enter our territory without our permission will result in immediate execution. Isaiah left some time for dramatic effect. Oh, and as for the anti-Nexus faction, Nexus won't forget about what you have done. Run and hide, while you still can. And Gasper signaled that the video was over. Don't you think that was a bit too dramatic, Gasper? Isaiah sighed out. Hell no. Dio Brando lookalike yelled out it was perfect. I can't wait to see how people will react. Give me a few hours. I will hack into their connections, and for those that haven't got any, I'll just beam this video to them via holograms and magic. This is going to be so freaking awesome. Gasper left the room with the camera as if he was holding the Holy Grail. Ironically, Valerie, the wielder of the Holy Grail, was just shaking her head as she watched her little brother walk out. Well, it's fine as long as he is having fun. Isaiah grinned. Speaking of fun, I think it's time for some payback. He grabbed her by the waist and pulled her clothes that smack her, you know. Valerie gave him a seductive look. Oh? And how are you planning on getting me back? I'll do the same thing you did, just in a different place and different situation. Like? Valerie breathed hotly into his ear. Bed, naked. Now he grabbed her by her upper thighs and pulled her up, all while giving her a searing kiss. Valerie couldn't wait anymore and just teleport both of them into their bedroom. Valerie 1. Sister Wives 0. Isaiah's message, quite literally shook the world. The Shinto pantheon, one of the most powerful factions in the world, was taken down by a group that has existed for less than a year. Their leader Isaiah. For someone so young, he has accomplished so much. Reached transcended class, a level that many think is almost impossible to reach, and managed to destroy a very strong faction. Along with 4 evil dragons. One of which was also a transcended class. It matters not if he is remembered as a hero or a villain. But his name will go down in history as someone terrifyingly strong. Azazel facepalmed when the video finished. There goes all of my political ties with the Shinto. So much time and energy invested into keeping those. Some materials can only be found in Japan, you know. They have great red light districts too. A pity. Pinmu smacked him over the head. Azazel. Be serious for once in your life. Shemhazai chuckled, but the situation sure is dire. The last I heard, Xerxes was chasing Poseidon across the realm of the dead. Azazel grimaced. Yeah, that will not end well, but if Nyx is involved then so is Olympus. We are at war with them, so it's not the end of the world. But I still feel kinda bad for Rias. She got taken right beneath our noses. Pinmu scoffed. I pity the girl, but she shouldn't have even been there. She has the power of destruction. Yet she is so weak that a solid high class could defeat her alone. Azazel scratched his beard. True, but Nexus sure has gotten strong. I think they have more than half of the Longinus in their group. Not someone anybody would like to piss off. Pinmu frowned. Do you think the devils will pay? They have no choice. If they don't, I shudder to think what Xerxes will do to them. Shemhazai stood up. But enough about them, we have our own problems to deal with. Now that Nexus has dealt the enemy a strong blow, it's time to think about counterattacking ourselves. We already have a good target. Anubis and Shed, along with Olympus. Or well, most of Olympus. Azazel just slumped in his chair. Zeus is a moron. If we go after the guilty Olympians, he will definitely protect them just so his faction doesn't get weaker than it already is. Well, what did they expect? They treat their followers and demigods like shit. Always cursing them or putting them in dangerous situations. What reason do they have to pray to them? Pinmu practically spat out. If a fallen like her, a being of sin, has such a low opinion of the Greek gods, well, that just tells you how bad they are. Whatever, first things first, we need to have an alliance meeting to discuss the changes this will make around the world. We can deal with everything else later. Tell Barakil to increase the training on our troops. They are going to need it if they want to survive the war that is about to come, Azazel said with a solemn tone. Why couldn't things ever be simple? Chapter 117, Factions across the world. Main Hall. Asgard. Odin sighed after the transmission was over. So another pantheon falls. Such is the fate for all of us. He said in a somber tone. Rahahaha. I recognize that watermark anywhere. This was Gasper's work. He uses the same image as his profile picture when we game. Thor laughed as he pointed at the watermark on the right bottom side of the screen. It was a chibi dio Brando. Sigh, son, how did this friend of yours get into our very advanced security system? Odin rubbed his temples. Oh, well, I may have given him access to our network the last time he was here so that we could game together. Thor smiled as he drowned the entire horn filled with mead. Freya just facepalmed while her Valkyries were looking at Thor speechlessly. I'm not even going to bother. Tell our men to reboot the entire system and upgrade the security. We are the most technologically advanced faction in the world. We cannot be hacked as easily as this. Odin slammed his fist on his throne. Rahahaha. Alfather, relax, Gasper won't do anything to damage us. Besides, it's not like he can't hack his way into our network. He is probably the greatest hacker to have ever been born. He weakly tries to hack the Earth's complex systems in the world. He even hacked the church once. Freya just stared at his son. And how do you know all of this? Thor just laughed. I got him drunk. He may be the best hacker, but he is far too young to be able to compete with me in drinking alcohol. Just inform our people to fix this. At once, Alfather. The guard quickly raised his fist to be horizontal to his chest and bowed. Indra's palace. Indra was in a very bad mood. The Trimurti ordered Indra not to antagonize Isaiah and Nexus. The Trimurti hold the highest position in the Hindu pantheon. Brahma is the creator, Vishnu is the preserver and Shiva is the destroyer. Most of the time the other two don't care about Indra and Shiva's problems. Especially since Indra is the one who wants to fight Shiva in the first place. If Shiva were to be defeated, then it means he is undeserving of his position as the strongest. But now Indra's action threatened their realm as a whole, so they ordered Indra to back off of Nexus. Indra does some divination and realizes that he only dies by Isaiah's hand if he himself goes against them. If he does nothing, Nexus won't do anything. He messed up the divination. He always looked for who is stronger, Isaiah or me, and the result was his death. But once he changed to when will Nexus attack, he got nothing. Do I really have to endure this humiliation? Can I do nothing against him? A child who hasn't even lived for 2 decades. Indra looked at the fallen form of Amaterasu, who was still in a coma. Without the backing of my faction, I would be easy pickings for them, and the anti-Nexus alliance is already falling apart. They fucked up, and now the Surtsks is going to hunt down each and every one of them. Luckily I stayed out of the first attack. Apologies, Amaterasu. It seems fate is not on your side. Indra raised his hand and plunged it into her chest, destroying her heart and her core. Let's see what the new world will turn out like, if Nexus won't bother me and won't join up with Shiva. I can live with that. I wonder. Indra looked into the future. But this time not asking anything about Nexus. What will happen to my faction? Bzzz. Hey. Indra's mind blanked out. Before he started to laugh like a madman. His laughter shook the mountain. Ha 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 ha. You tried to stop this, but it is already too late. Not even you, the Trimurti, can stop this, maybe even survive this. War is upon us. A war like no one has ever seen. Shiva, you won't survive this war, I will make sure of it. Field of Reeds, Egyptian. At the main chamber in the palace. Seth was laughing out loud like a maniac. Ha 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 ha, oh, it's been so long since I have felt this much faith. Indeed, Anubis smiled, the god was just a bigger and stronger version of his soldiers. His jackal head let out a menacing grin. Well done, Seth, Anubis. While it pains me to use such dirty methods, I can't argue with the results. Our pantheon is back in the spotlight, so to speak. Osiris complimented his fellow gods. Old man Ra was happy as well. Why, I think the sun is a lot more brighter today, shows he is in a good mood. Seth chuckled as he pointed at the sun in their realm. Nephthys chuckled. I honestly thought I would never see the day where the Ra was happy. Truthfully, I doubted you two would succeed, especially against such long odds. But you pulled it off. Gab conjured a hat and tipped the 2 gods, who chuckled at the gesture. Well, here is to the successful first step of brining back our pantheon. Horus raised his glass. Cheers. Cheers. Olympus. Zeus was quite literally fuming. Lighting was coursing through his body. That message was not only sent to Olympus, but to every facility they own, including their own camp Half-Blood, which they tried very hard to keep under their control and not let any other faction influence them. The camp is their last line of defense. The humans don't pray to them anymore. They practically get their faith only from their children. How dare they send that message here? Zeus bellowed, shaking the realm. Yet, delivering messages is my job, I should sue them, this is so humiliating. Hermes crossed his arms. Hermes, this is a serious matter. Athena frowned at Hermes. Nyx and Erebus have attacked the Biblical Alliance, along with Poseidon, while Hades sent his Grim Reapers after Nexus. If Nexus is serious about getting revenge, they will come after us, Hera said in a somber tone. I don't see what's the problem. I'm loving this. Ares laughed out loud, every second he could feel power coursing through his veins. As he is now, he is as strong as Poseidon, and just a bit weaker than Zeus. Of course you are. Apollo sighed. My divinations all say one thing. A great war is coming, a war that will result in the death of half of the supernatural world. Not even we with powers to peer into the future can tell what's going to happen anymore. Who will win or lose, who will survive or die? Nothing is certain anymore. The age of chaos is upon us. Artemis glared at Ares. She despises him, he was scum just like all the other men, he is a true creature of war, but now he is a lot more powerful than her. I hope this war never ends. Ares was ecstatic. Ares has never been hotter. Aphrodite bit her lip when she saw the power rolling off of her lover. Piece of shit, Hephaestus sneered on the inside. He hated both Ares and Aphrodite, she was his wife yet she always cheated on him. Even if it was a forced marriage on both sides. The fact that she didn't even try to hide it means she had zero respect for him. We need to make preparations for when they come. Zeus slammed his fist on his throne again. He seemed to be doing it a lot. Right now Nexus is stronger, so I should defend Olympus, but if Olympus starts whining, I need to fall back. I want to drag out this war as much as possible. And if the chance appears, strike down Zeus and grab the throne for myself. Ares had a crazy smile on his face, the other gods ignored him since this was normal for him. His heart beat faster and faster, power spread through his body like liquid fire. Let the flames of war spread. Until they consume the world and make me king. Underworld. Lucified. They really did it, Seraphal said as she speechlessly looked at the report. It was one thing to see the video, it was another to hear the report. The last of the devil's spies in Japan sent out before they were taken out. She was with Rias and Sana and their peerages. She was playing bodyguard for them. Naturally she would do it for Sanatan anyway. The kids were speechless. As soon as the video ended they were just lost in space. Especially Rias. The pretty boy knight that she didn't think much of was now the ruler of Japan. Nasan Seraphal looked to Sana, surprised how calm her sister sounded now. What happens now? Nexus took over Japan, their fight is over. But what about us? Seraphal suppressed a smirk, she was really proud of Sana, she had a good head on her shoulders. War. No matter the reason, they attacked the alliance and kidnapped one of our own, not to mention the rape. Rias flinched, clenched her fists and bit her lips. Akeno quickly grabbed her hand to calm her down. Olympus is going down, together with the Egyptian pantheon and anyone who had to do with the attack. We can't afford to look weak now. What about others? The Alliance and Nexus are in an unstable state now. Will the other factions in the world sit back at this opportunity? Tsubaki said from behind Sana. She planned this with Tsubaki beforehand. Bonus points for Sanatan. Seraphal sighed. No they won't. After we pay Nexus and get Graphia and Milikas back, we will most likely start to massively recruit soldiers from the population. Every house will be forced to go to war. This will be much bigger than even the Great War between the three factions. The actions we have made by making this alliance and Isaiah making Nexus has resulted in the situation we find ourselves now. The alliance is weakened and Nexus has a huge territory that isn't properly defended yet. This is a far too tempting target to not take action. In my opinion, this will most likely result in a battle royal. The world is up for grabs. Nobody will be able to stay on the sidelines. That's what's coming. And everybody knows it. Sana, Rias. Both girls looked at Seraphal who had a completely serious expression on her face. There is no guarantee that any of us will be able to survive through the war. I suggest you start training, you train like you can feel death over your shoulder, because now, if you screw up even once, there is a good chance you might die. Both girls and their peerages shivered. Sira sighed and went in front of Sana and hugged her. Sana was stunned. Sira Fall always just jumps at her and tries to smother her, but this was different. It was sad. The day you were born I swore to protect you with my life, and I intend to keep that promise, but there is a chance that it will not be enough. So you train Sana, you train until you drop. Do you understand? She cupped Sana's cheeks. Yes. Naisama Sana nodded with a determined face. Good. Sira Fall nodded because you might really hate me after this. We start training tomorrow. Go and rest for today. It's been a stressful day. She nodded and all of them left the room one by one. A few minutes later Ajilka and Falbium teleported into the room. Ajilka, Falbium, give it to me straight. What are my odds? Sira Fall said in an exhausted tone. Ajilka and Falbium also slumped. Our army is a mess. The survivors from the attack are recuperating. We lost a chunk of our soldiers to Anubis's army. We need to start recruiting immediately. I'm going to need a lot of money. That brings me to our next problem. Fucking politics with these imbeciles. We are going to need to offer them something good for them to stay and fight. We can't just go *cling them off, or we will have another rebellion on our hands. The irony. Us four. Surtsks has power. I have knowledge, Falbium has defense and you Sira Fall have strength. Oh, and might I compliment you on how well you have kept that little fact hidden. Ajilka smirked at her. There are only a few people in the world who know of that tiny little fact. She was the strongest Mu. Physically she was stronger than any one of the Mu. She has trained hard to keep her position as Mu. In the Civil War she always fought as a magician, creating an ice zone with a lot of ice fog. That's because she used the cover to rip her enemies apart. Even after the war she made her TV show starring herself as a magical girl. This was to make a good impression on the young devil children and to further enforce the idea of her being a mage-type fighter. Which she was, and she was damn good at it. But she had the build, perfect for close-range fighter. Saray Org wasn't the first devil to take his body to the peak, not by a long shot. Ajilka's tone turned serious, and yet all of us must play nice or we will end up exactly like the previous Mus. Sira sighed. Even after I quit they are still causing troubles for me. Honestly, if I thought Sana would be safer I would have just taken her and dropped her off at Nexus. But, her leaving my side is unacceptable. And I don't exactly trust Isaiah to hold any goodwill towards us. Beeb. 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 Ajilka opens a holographic screen and reads the report he just got. Surtsks is asking for reinforcements. It seems that after Poseidon and Hades couldn't hold him off on their own they called for help. Sira Fall stood up. I'll go. Right now we need to make an impression. That the devils are still a force to be reckoned with. And we need to make an example out of Poseidon. Falbium dragged himself out of the chair. I'm going to start some army drills. Ajilka, I'll leave the council to you. Honestly, if they won't listen just *LL them. The fallout will be catastrophic. But just share the truth. This war will be like nothing the world has ever seen. If they think they can survive on their own, they are free to leave. Let's see how they handle that news. Ajilka looked thoughtful. That might actually work. Sira Fall just facepalmed and left without saying a word. She wasn't a Mu anymore. Let Grafia deal with this bullshit. A/N. Okay, so according to some sources Indra is not a person, it's a position, that changes every Manvantara. In each Manvantara, 7 rishis, certain deities, an Indra, a Manu, and kings, sons of Manu, are created and perish. This just confuses me even more. I have no idea how the real hierarchy goes, but I'm putting the Trimurti above Indra, the person, in this FIC. I changed it up a bit for Sira Fall. I thought I would be funny. Since technically, Surtsks and Ajilka are far better mages than her. Ajilka has more spells while Surtsks is a one-trick pony. Just destroy everything. What do you think? Just share your thoughts. I need some feedback. Chapter 118, True Sira Fall. Realm of the Dead. Despite being outnumbered, Surtsks was holding himself very well. In his true form he just destroyed anything and everything around him. Grim Reapers were being erased just by being in his presence. Persistent bastard, Poseidon cursed out as he kept running away. His situation was a blessing and a curse. Surtsks was dead set on *ling him. Poseidon was severely injured and he had already lost an arm, and a chunk from his stomach. but the most important fact alone that they were capable of injuring Surtsks. Due to his anger, Surtsks just kept chasing Poseidon, allowing the others to strike him. But if Surtsks stopped, Poseidon would just leave. Hades used this to call even more reinforcements, intending to trap Surtsks and do some serious damage. His Grim Reapers have slowly been gathering death aura from around the realm near them and have been concentrating it at the area where he was fighting Hades. If I have to sacrifice Poseidon, so be it. I can always bring him back in a few centuries, Hades thought to himself as he watched Surtsks chase Poseidon with rage in his eyes. He was quite injured himself. Many of his bones were cracked and seemingly being held in place by black-green mist. If he had real flesh as a body, he would probably be bleeding all over the place with various injuries all over him. The reason they were able to drag this fight so long was because of the 1,000 Grim Reapers from ultimate to mid-class that were with them. They created barriers that slowed down Surtsks for 1 second, allowing Poseidon to escape certain death. Surtsks had already K*LLED 400 of them just from lashing out. Each time Poseidon got away, he flung his hands and dozens Grim Reapers died. I never expected Surtsks to be this powerful in his true form. If I were to fight him alone, he will easily be able to defeat me. Guess they weren't lying when they said he is stronger than the original Lucifer. That guy was a pain, but Surtsks isn't 10 times stronger than Lucifer, stupid devil propaganda. But currently he is stronger than the original. Destruction is such a troublesome power to fight against. Though I have no right to complain as a death god, having domains over death and soul. Quite frankly, the most useful person in this war has been 8. Hades mused, he was quite sure the goddess had hidden herself around here somewhere. 8 was the goddess of mischief, delusion, ruin, and blind folly, rash action, and reckless impulse. The Holy Emperor lost an arm, and now she was even affecting Surtsks. If it wasn't for her twisted personality, I would have respected her a lot more. She is one of the few gods in this world who never stopped improving themselves. She is responsible for quite a few incidents over the last few hundreds of years, causing quite a few diplomatic incidents. All it takes is a bit of nudge from her and some diplomat does something very stupid. Hades narrowly dodges an long-range blast from power of destruction. I shouldn't get distracted like that. Even when he is rash and reckless, he is still the strongest devil. He should have realized his situation by now, but he is still chasing after Poseidon. Him indulging in his disgusting habits and raping his sister might have been the right call. Otherwise, how else would we be able to surround and attack Lucifer like this? This is an opportunity to finally deal a fatal strike to the devil faction. How much longer? Hades spoke to his servants telepathically. We are bringing it to you as fast as we can, Lord Hades. You yourself know how unstable Samael's poison is, the servant spoke up. A group of Grim Reapers were delivering a single bottle to Hades. A single bottle that they kept under constant barriers. Well, get it here, Hades ordered as he unleashed another concentrated death ray at Surtsks, who simply destroyed it without looking. Surtsks glanced at Hades before continuing his chase. Annoying bastard, he cursed in his mind again. After IK*LL Poseidon, he is next. This chase carried on for a little while longer before Hades received an urgent message. Sir, we can't stop her. She is K*LLING our men and breaking past each barrier. The transition stopped. An intruder. Damn it, I can't go and stop whoever she is. I need all of my Grim Reapers here. Without Pluto, who was as strong as Azazel, and Thanatos, who was stronger than most gods, the fight would be more risky. He would have to take even more damage. Pluto was firmly in his faction. Thanatos is the leader of the militant faction and he refuses to listen to Hades's orders. He is the oldest and most powerful Grim Reaper. But Surtsks was attacking the Netherworld, so he was forced to fight him, otherwise he would have left Hades to die. Coincidentally, he is the reason Hades is so injured, letting some attacks slip past him to hit Hades. Orcus is the leader of the moderate faction that believe they should have better relationship with other factions in order for the Netherworld to become more stable. Suddenly Surtsks rushed at Poseidon at an even faster speed. His wings were leaving a dark red trail in the air, making him look more like a comet than a person. See God's shield. Poseidon roared out and used all the water he got from the river Styx to form a water shield in front of him. The shield was very big, 3 meters wide and tall, with being 2 meters deep. It was filled with his divine energy and the special properties of the river Styx. Surtsks gritted his teeth as the water fought his destruction. The different energies in the water was making it difficult to destroy it. But he dug deeper into his reserves. Hawkeye. Destruction energy ripped through the center of the shield. No! Poseidon yelled out as the attack burst through the shield and engulfed him. It immediately targeted his legs and moved upwards. Xerxes roared out, as he pushed even farther. Poseidon was getting disintegrated, he couldn't run away. Damn you Lucifer! I will return. And I will make you pay. Your sister, your wife, and your mother pay. They will be my slaves for eternity. Poseidon bellowed, his last words echoing through the surroundings. Now! Hades yelled out. Xerxes just unleashed a big attack, he was horrible right now. Hades and his Grim Reapers were ready to send out a dozen or so attacks but froze as a chill engulfed the area. You sure did a number on our leader, a cold voice echoed, causing everybody to turn to the source. Hades glanced behind him. Sierra false a try. Tap. CRZZ. Tap. CRZZ. Tap. CRZZ. Sierra Fall was taking slow but steady steps. With each step, the ground beneath her froze and spread. Everything within 50 meters of her was freezing. What is with that form? Hades frowned. This was not how she usually looked. Sierra Fall was wearing white and light blue dress. That looked like it was made from ice and snow. The dress was long that ended at her ankles. She was also wearing heels that looked like were made from the darkest ice possible. She has a small ice flower formation at the center of her chest, and a half crown of ice which extends around the back of her head. But the biggest change was her hair and eyes. Her hair turned to an almost translucent whitish with a bit of violet in it. While her deep purple eyes turned to very light purple, that shined like gems. She looked like an ice queen, looking down at them. This is my true form. Sierra Fall replies calmly. Sierra Fall Xerxes approached slowly her while watching the enemies. Hades immediately noticed something strange. He felt not life from her. You are dead. Sierra Fall nodded ever so slightly, very sharp. Indeed, in this form my body is so cold that it stops everything. Even my own life. But it also stops everything else. She calmly raised her hand at Pluto, who was approaching her with his scythe. Hush! A white gust spread from her, ice spread out below it at high speeds. In a matter of seconds, everything around them froze. Pluto was frozen solid, a mid to high ultimate class K** LLED in an instant. To Hades' surprise, the river Styx froze as well. That's impossible, the river itself was created by all the souls swimming through it since it began. The souls would leave traces of themselves in the river. It was more accurate to say that it was soul water. She can freeze the soul itself. Shall I take this as the Alliance's declaration of war against Olympus? Hades asked in a calm tone, like there weren't two Satans in their true forms in front of him. Sierra Fall just smirked. Your brother raped Rias Gremory and your little Cupid gave an arrow to our enemies. An arrow that caused Archangel Gabriel to fall. What do you think? This is not over, Xerxes said to the death god. Hades merely smiled. See you on the battlefield then. He knew it was pointless to keep them here. Poseidon was dead, meaning Lucifer won't be distracted anymore. Sierra Fall stopped. Which one? Hades actually chuckled, understanding her meaning. Alliance vs Olympus or the great war that is coming. Whichever comes first. Sierra Fall frowned and snapped her fingers. A teleportation circle appeared beneath her and Xerxes, taking them home. Hades just sighed as he used his divine energy to repair his clothes. My lord, what now? Pluton, the strongest Grim Reaper, asked his lord. Now, you will call some of our men to fix up this area while I go and see my wife. Along with a few bottles of my best wine. Today has been quite entertaining. No reason not to continue my good mood. But my lord. Your brother died, Pluton said in a confused voice. Exactly, Hades chuckled as he disappeared in a black fog. Chapter 119, Celebration. After the war there were many things to do. Nexus put Japan in lockdown. The defenses needed to be increased, resources distributed. Set up new facilities. Creating a whole new ward scheme on top of the existing one that was used by the Shinto. Dealing with the captured prisoners and the ones who surrendered. Make a way to harness the faith of the people still praying to the Shinto gods and use it for themselves. But did Nexus do any of those things? No, they decided to throw a giant 3-day festival. To reward the Sodders for producing good results in the war and to honor the dead. Isaiah and a few of the leaders took it upon themselves to personally hold the security of the whole island for the next few days by using clones. While the soldiers celebrate the complete victory of Nexus and mourn their fallen comrades. Brothers, sisters. A toast to our fallen friends. May they rest in peace knowing that they have built a better world for us. Their sacrifice guaranteed that outcasts from any race, are all going to have a better life here. Kenpai! Kenpai, X! The yokai soldiers raised their drinks and shot the whole thing, they were crying and laughing at the same time. Most of the soldiers in Nexus's army were yokai, with other species coming in later. On another table were the devils. Drinking happily, they survived and now Nexus has some major territory. The entire land of Japan. They ran away from the devil faction with practically nothing. Now they are going to get a small house with some farmland and their families are going to have a better life. No more working on farms or being in peerages as servants and *X slaves. They were free to make their decisions, and joining Nexus was the best decision they made. On a table a bit further away. Fallen and angels sitting at the same table and drinking in peace. Who would have thought that we would all sit around one table and share a meal? One of the fallen soldiers said in a melancholy tone. Indeed, the angel next to him nodded. Their species have waged war upon each other for centuries. Yet now that they were with Nexus, in a strange way, they found peace. Nexus was like this magical place where people go for a new beginning. And all of them were willing to be obedient and follow the rules. How are your brethren finding this place? Another fallen soldier asked the angels. We are settling in, despite my doubts, the angel said gently. We joined Nexus because we believed we could share Father's dream, create a peaceful world. I believe we made the right decision. Lord Isaiah might truly bring salvation to this world. The angels and fallen chuckled. It was a running gag amongst them. Isaiah means salvation of God. The demonic blade dragon. A being of destruction and death, laying waste to anything in his path. Yet he is the one who brings peace wherever he goes. Nexus went to the Underworld and carved out a piece of territory for themselves. The ordinary and reincarnated devils currently living there have the best living situation in the entire Underworld, compared to others who are in a similar situation like them. They have homes, stable income from the jobs Nexus made. Their children are actually receiving good education and have a good future, taxes are within a reasonable range and slavery is forbidden. It was ironic what a teenager had accomplished in a few months, yet heaven couldn't do in thousands of years. Heaven was too reliant upon the faith of humans. That's how the church got so much power. Even more after God died. Heaven did everything they could to stop the system from falling apart. Even betraying their own followers, sacrificing them for the greater good. Like Asia. And look how that turned out for them. They got a petite berserker whose fists cause explosions and she has one hell of a grudge. How are the devils faring? Well, they are handling it pretty well. They make most of our forces aside from the yokai. They left the devil faction for a better life and this war was a way to prove themselves to Nexus and get more benefits. Well, the same could be said for all of us. Amen to that. A cocky fallen grinned. Ow ww, the group of devils that were near them flinched to that. Causing the angels and fallen to burst into laughter. You ass! One of the devils yelled out. Sorry, the cocky fallen raised his hands in a non-threatening manner. Here, as an apology, next round is on me. And just like that the situation was fixed. On the balcony of the HQ the generals were observing this scene and many others like it with proud looks on their faces. We really made something special, haven't we? Valerie said with a gentle smile. Yeah, sometimes I just can't believe it myself. Feldera nodded, this was one of those rare moments where he was serious. Kurama took a deep breath from his tobacco pipe and let out a long puff of smoke. Well, open your eyes and believe it, Otaku Dragon. In less than a year, we together have built a massive multiracial organization, occupied Kyoto, then we took a chunk out of the devil's territories and now we have crushed a faction that has been a powerhouse in the world for millennia and occupied its territories. We have created something great, something no one has done in history, well, as far as I know. Tiamat chuckled at that. Well, I can guarantee that nobody has done anything close to what we have accomplished in a single year. I should know. Oh, and Feldera, if you make a comment about my age I will punch you so hard that you will hit the moon. She smiled sweetly at the Otaku Dragon, who got a cold shiver down his spine and quickly closed his jaw with a loud snap. He had been seconds away from shooting himself in the foot again. Pity, I was looking forward to seeing that, Chiron/Konako commented with a pout. All of the others laughed at that. Isaiah looked at the scene fondly. All of his efforts, all of the tortures hours, training day and night. Chasing after power like a madman. It paid off. He had his friends and lovers with him, standing by his side as they made history. He was proud of them and grateful for sticking with him even as they waged war on the Shinto pantheon. He suddenly had a thought: how long until we can stabilize the realm where Takamagahara was? Everybody turned to Rose since she was now the resident expert on space magic. Give our teams a week or two. I managed to protect the core of the realm so that it wouldn't completely fall apart. After we have stabilized it somewhat, then it's up to Tiamat and all of the others who will absorb the divinities we got from the gods to link themselves to the realm and provide enough power for it to start to grow. Once it completely stabilizes and grows a bit, all the others who don't have divinity can link themselves to it to speed up its growth. Damn, that would be sick, Dino commented, an entire realm all to ourselves. Interesting, it works on a similar principle than Alfheim, Gloxinia commented, seemingly very interested in the subject. I wonder how it would turn out. Misaki snuggled closer to her boyfriend. I hope we can get water in there. I want to make a giant water bubble filled with sea creatures, Ingvild said cheerfully. So what comes after this? Gasper asked. The tiny short dumper was unrecognizable. Except for his height, which was still increasing, he currently looked eerily similar to Dio Brando. It is said that devils have some shape-shifting abilities if they desire it enough. There have been cases where women grew larger breasts. Or men growing in size, both in height and down there. Gasper was experiencing puberty and his magic was shifting him to look like his idol. This might have been considered weird by anybody else. But since when was Isaiah and his team normal? Next. We party and relax. After these 3 days are over, then we worry about the future. But if I had to guess what's about to happen, then it would most likely be a baby boom. Baby boom. Zenobia tilted her head, unfamiliar with the term. Naya ah ha ha ha. Kurika started to laugh. That sounds about right. We just had a big war, a lot of people are happy and relived their loved ones survived. This is the perfect time to start a family. Oh, I plan to, Asia said in a husky voice, her emerald eyes looking right into Isaiah's eyes as he smirked. She is not the only one. Tiamat linked arms with Isaiah. Nay. I'm not getting left out. Kurika jumped on his back. Rose, Zenobia, Valerie, and Chiron weren't about to be left behind. Isaiah laughed loudly as he looked at the other generals. You guys enjoy yourselves. It's time to relax and heal. After these 3 days we are going to be as busy as ever. Whoosh x8. Isaiah and his lovers disappeared. It was clearly obvious what they were going to do. Well, gentlemen, I wish you a good night. Riser drowned his glass and left with a smile. Dino turned to Meredith, but before he could even say anything his lover kissed him deeply and shut him up. After a moment she leaned near his ear and whispered, she used magic to make sure nobody could hear her. I hope you're not planning on sleeping tonight, because I plan to go on all night long. Dino was speechless for a moment before he picked up Meredith in a princess carry. The girl let out a cry of surprise at his action. See you later guys, Dino said before he quickly walked out of the room with an embarrassed Meredith in his arms. Well, you guys do whatever you normally do. Ingvild stood up and changed into a more casual outfit. I'm going to go out and have some fun. Maybe sing a bit at the main plaza. We are also going, bye. Misaki grabbed Gloxinia and practically dashed out of the room. Gloxinia was wide-eyed as he was dangling behind her, fluttering like a flag. He was used to flying, but not like this. He chuckled at the strange thought. Whatever, we should also have some fun tonight. He spread his wings and he picked up Misaki and flew into the night sky. Gasper and Feldera looked at each other. Whoever doesn't get laid tonight will have to obey one command from the winner, Feldera suggested. Deal, but we use Isaiah's transformation sword. It would be too easy if we were to rely on our position and fame. Gasper raised his hand and Feldera quickly shook it. Deal. Both of them rushed out of the room and went into the city. Kurama was left alone. He chuckled at their childish behavior. I feel like the parent that just watched all of his children grow up. Kurama raised his hand and summoned a big jug of sake from his pocket space. This was a very expensive and rare sake that he had been saving for a special occasion. The jug might look normal, but the space inside it was expanded. The fox sage took a step and disappeared, appearing on the roof. He laid down on the tiles and relaxed. Like a guardian deity he stood on the highest point and watched over his subjects. The full moon shone brightly, illuminating the night, his outline clearly visible on the moon as his hair danced in the wind. Many people noticed him and prayed in their hearts. Their faith went directly into the divine core in his soul, the core that he got from the fox god Inari. With each prayer he felt his divine energy increase and in turn increase his strength. The power he got from each prayer was minuscule. But over time that would stack up. Kurama used senjutsu to connect to nature. All around him, he felt all of the emotions of his people. Joy, sadness, grief. Everybody was feeling different things, but they had one thing in common. Hope. Resolution. Hope for the future. Hope for a better life. And the resolve to protect it. He opened his eyes as he raised his jug slightly in the air. His eyes shining in a golden hue, his face serene and happy. To a new age. The age of Nexus. The end. Or is it? /N there is one more chapter. Chapter 120. Two Dragon Gods. What did you think of the chapter? Was it good, bad? Meh? Was it a bad choice to let Kurama end it? I thought it was appropriate as he is literally the most serious one in the group. Chapter 120, Two Dragon Gods. Far away in a distant realm. Beyond the dimensional gap. A distant world filled with semi-mechanical sentient beings. The world is called Talda. The leader of this whole world and all of the worlds this species has conquered is the middle brother of the three strongest beings of this race. Melvizoa. The conqueror of worlds. The conqueror was planning on how to defeat Resetores, spirits, and Italda. His brothers and generals are doing well. It is only a matter of time before they are victorious. But it's taking too long. He was getting bored. But then one of his men came in to report something. My liege. One of the tiny worlds we dismissed as acceptable targets for invasion due to their low level has disappeared. Melvizoa was slightly surprised at that. Disappeared? A world doesn't just disappear. Did it explode? Was it destroyed by someone? No, my liege. It just vanished from all of our surveillance. Interesting. We delayed going to that world due to their weak population. We need them to get stronger to get the best value from them. But if they are capable of hiding from us, then maybe that world is ready. The king mused for a bit before raising his head. Send some scouts. If that world is still there, then start making preparation to invade it. As you wish. The soldier quickly turned around and left. Melvizoa leaded back into his throne. I hope this world can at least provide a bit of entertainment. Back to the world of DxD/Draconic Deus. Great Red was flying through the dimensional gap. It has been a week since his deal with Isaiah. As a dragon god, and someone who spends his life in isolation, Great Red perceives time differently. After he got the dragon apple wine, he had a specific spot in mind where he wanted to drink it. Deep in the dimensional gap, one of his favorite places to go and enjoy himself. Traveling a week or two to him is like walking a few minutes. With a loud roar, Great Red opened up a portal and finally arrived at his destination. Compared to the rest of the gap, where in every direction, there is a mix of iridescent colors. This place was different. It was a big sphere with mostly black with a few other dark colors like dark blue or dark violet. This was a special place he found in the gap. A blank spot, where there was no space. Absolute nothingness. Great Red theorized that this is where Ophis and he were first born. Great Red turned into his human form and used his powers to twist the space around him, to form a platform for him to sit down and lie on. He sent a tiny bit of his power into the sphere and caused it to create a multicolor explosion. But since the space was pure nothingness, the explosion was in slow motion, twisting and turning, slowly ceasing to exist. It created a peculiar and beautiful sight. He created a glass and poured himself some wine. Ah! It's been so long. Great Red slowly sipped wine from his glass, fully enjoying himself in the moment. Nothing could ruin this for him. Baka Red. Where did you get that? Almost nothing. Great Red sighed. What do you want, Ouroboros? I was looking for you to tell you to leave my home. But then I saw you drinking that. What is it? It's very rare apple dragon wine. Isaiah gave it to me, GR said smugly. Ophis tilted her head. Who? GR was speechless and resisted the urge to facepalm, but this creature in front of him wouldn't understand what facepalming even is. The sword devil. Ophis' eyes widened just a tiny bit, realizing who he was talking about. I see, you are drinking apple juice, and why did he give it to you instead of me? We made a deal. I help him out and he gives me a super rare premium dragon wine. And this is not apple juice and is not for children. Great Red hoped that if he talked this way, Ophis would understand him. Ophis just stared at him blankly. He didn't know it, but Ophis had indeed understood him. She has eaten rare or premium cookies that she got from Isaiah. Rare or premium meant better tasting treats. And now there was a treat in front of her that she hasn't tasted yet. Ophis suddenly frowned, surprising Great Red that she was actually capable of it. Baka Red, let's make a deal. I will give you some of my premium cookies in exchange for a glass of premium apple juice. Some of my premium cookies, not all. Great Red jaw dropped, he couldn't help it and he face-palmed. I hate that devil dragon. What has he been teaching her? She was less annoying the way she was before. No, it is not of equal value, GR tried to explain. Off-Ice frowned even further. I will also give you premium pudding. Just leave. Great Red sighed. Oh, how the tables have turned. I'm actually telling her to get lost. But suddenly the dragon of dragons jumped up and his head turned into a specific point. He waved his hand and a portal opened up. Through the portal he could see what was happening. Some mechanical beings just passed through the barrier that was hiding their world from all of the others. The Eevee had found them. Great Red stared speechlessly as he lost his grip on the bottle. Fuck. Luckily Off-Ice was there to catch it and her eyes widened in joy as she smelled the delicious aroma of the wine. Great Red ignored Off-Ice completely. How did they find us? I hid this world completely. There was no way they could have found us. Unless they already knew where we are. Damn it, Isaiah theorized they found this world due to the Trihexa incident causing such a large stir. But what if they already knew where we were but ignored us? And Trihexa gained their attention? Fuck no. I am not dying to some overpowered evil god. I am not getting one shot. Not in this reality. I need to find the sword brat. Fuck the factions and their petty wars. If they don't stop fighting, I'm going to personally wipe them out. They will either help against the invaders or they die. My old bones are not ready to die just yet. Great Red shifted into his dragon from and opened a portal. He needed to get back near Earth and contact Nexus. Off-Ice started blankly at Great Red's exit before turning her attention to the big wine bottle in her hands. The 3L wine bottle was more than half her size. Do I drink this right away? Or do I need snacks to go with the apple juice? Sword Devil always said snacks go with juice. But what snacks? I'll just ask the Sword Devil again. Off-Ice disappeared into nothingness and she also left to go and find Isaiah. Ironically leaving behind the one thing that she had always wanted. Silence.
Thanks for listening.